right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. All right, I want to first say all praises to the Most High, Hayya Bashim Yeshaya, Warwalk Adash, for another blessed Shabbat that we're here again today. Thank you for just bringing us through this week. You know, this week of independence. The world has called themselves independent from what? Who knows? But their independence. Amazing just to see how that went. And for me, it was just a day off in the middle of the week, which I didn't need. But but definitely a lot of spiritual attachments to that day. It was wild to see, you know, the fireworks going off, and it's the only holiday I can think of that has reminiscent of like war. You can hear like gunshots, but it's fireworks. You hear bombs going off, but it's, you know, M80s and whatever they're using out there nowadays, and just interesting how it kind of parallels to some times of what their independence might have really been from. Are they celebrating the independence of themselves from England? Or are they celebrating their independence from the Most High? Because I'm thinking about, you know, them shooting up fireworks is no different than the arrows they used to shoot in the air from Babylon when they were in the Tower of Babel into heaven. So interesting how that went. But today's lesson, though, again, something that, you know, a lot of leaders can attest to, I'm sure, and even just brothers who have families and sisters who are over things, the trials of the prophets. And what they had to go through, the trials and tribulations they had to go to. And it's just not the prophets we're talking about. We're talking about the saints, too. Everybody who put their hand to the plow at some point and was all in for the Most High, and what they had to go through to kind of make it and continue on, and just being beat up, really, and just how much strength it takes to kind of, you know, make it through this. And we're not talking about carnal strength. We're talking about spiritual strength, something that, you know, the strongest man in the world, he can be broken down if he's not doing this the right way. So I want to start off first in Daniel's, the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. Because as we go through this truth here, and, you know, again, the strongest of us can get weak. They can get weak. And we got to keep ourselves girded in this, because it's the only way we're going to make it. We're going to go to Daniel 7:25. We are not against the carnal things these days. Everything's been increasing. I've just been seeing, you know, how many weeks we got to go by. We got another video of some police being called on our people just doing regular things, like trying to go to the pool with their families, or, you know, and we have the other tribes that can't even see their families right now because they're being separated by force as a card to kind of play, you know, to allow them to move through the system or get them out of here, or whatever what their agenda is. There's something going on where they're trying to divide families and they're trying to persecute all at once. So we got to be mindful of what times we're in, definitely. It says Daniel 7:25. All
right, let's get a count. We're there. All right, Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High. Again, we just celebrated, or they just celebrated Independence Day. And we look and see, hey, are they celebrating independence from, you know, their history? Or are they celebrating independence on another scale? What does that represent? All right, keep going.
And shall wear out the saints.
And shall what?
Wear out the saints.
And shall wear out the saints. Those brothers and sisters who are trying to do this for Christ, slowly being worn down. Slowly being worn down. I'm talking about brothers who, they know the scriptures back and forth, but something else is pulling them spiritually. Something else is dragging it. Something else is trying to cut them down. Especially the leaders, especially the heads. Those are getting chopped left and right. Any righteous heads out there, they're getting pulled. They're getting pulled right now. They're getting used. All right, keep going.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
And shall think to change times and laws. All right, and we know we're dealing with that. All different types of holidays we have. You know, it seems like we can't keep the days straight anymore. You know, it's times are off. Sun's coming up weird times sometimes, even when it's late. It's, you know, early. It's wintertime and it's sunny. You know, it's warm. It's random things just happening. left and right in these days and times. Keep going.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and dividing of time.
And they shall be given into his hand for a time, and a dividing of times. The key point in there, though, wearing out the saints. They will wear out the saints, and this is where you're starting to see the push, where the saints can start to become worn out. This is a long journey. It's a marathon, but some folks out there are starting to get tired. Really are. Let's keep going. Let's go to Romans 3. Let's go to Romans 5:1. The saints are getting worn thin. You're starting to see where we're going to be in these times. Everybody's getting pulled. I'm talking to everybody all throughout this week. They're saying, "Hey, how was your week going, man?" You know what? It was all right. But the thing is, it's like, and I was talking to a brother earlier. We was talking about, you know what? Nothing external from me was actually going wrong. Like, it's not like I had a flat tire. It wasn't like my job was harassing me per se. But internally, all week, the last 3 weeks, there's been war on my soul. Don't know where it's come from, but torment. I'm looking at Galatians 5, and I'm saying, right now, I'm not joyous. Right now, I don't feel like I have peace. My long suffering is waning. Wear out the saints. Those trials of the prophets. We're going to see throughout this lesson where that stuff has happened over and over again. And you don't think the creation's watching us too? That they went through all those things, and just like I say in Hebrews, where it says, look, all those had the promises, not seeing it. They told them afar off, but they didn't get it. We're living that. Those promises they were given, we're seeing that. So imagine an enemy able to take all that knowledge that he had to wear out the saints then and multiply it every time. Oh, well, it didn't work this time. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me try this. All the way up to us. So that weight on your shoulders now is a weight of eons of your ancestors' burdens and a war against us. That's what we're up against. So we are strong people. If you don't even see it, even with all our distractions and messed up natures, no other nation would have been able to do as well. Do none of this. We are a product of that war since the beginning. Romans 5.
Let's get a common word there. Romans chapter 5, verse 1. All right. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with the Most High through our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach.
So therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with the Most High through our Lord Yeshua. That's our goal when we're looking at the end of this road and saying, I'm not sure how I'm going to make this one. I'm starting to gas out. Yeshua is right there. It's like, come on, brother. Let's keep going. You're almost there. Come on. Keep going.
Verse 2. By whom also we have access by faith into his grace, wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience.
So not only so, but we have glory in tribulations, also knowing that tribulations worketh patience. You're getting better at this. Even though you seem weak, you're stronger than you ever been. Tribulation worketh patience. You are being stretched thin, but no, you're being stretched to be stronger. What else?
Verse 4. And patience, experience, and experience hope.
So tribulation worketh patience. And then patience, because of that patience, you get experience. And get it now, like, okay, I know what's happening here. I know how to correct this. I know how to kind of get around this. And get over it with the help of Yeshua, and to experience hope. Because that experience builds hope. You know what? I got through that one. I made it. So that when the next thing happens, I know I'll be all right. What else?
Verse 5. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of Ahiah is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit.
Saying the hope make us not ashamed. For the love of the Most High is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is given unto us. Because we're going to have a lot of times we're going to try to talk ourselves out like, look, I don't think the Most High is with me anymore. I think he's gone. And you're going to feel those things. Because just how you feel, and you say, there's no way he can be with me right now. Look where I was. Look where I am now. I'm filthy. But through all this, tribulation work of patience. Through all that, even though you don't see it, you're being built to be stronger. Praise the Most High.
You know what's interesting about that?
Mm-hmm.
I remember at one of the lowest memorable points of my life, I didn't have no friends, no family, nobody I can call upon, I can reach out to, none of that. Totally isolated. The only thing that kept me was my upbringing in the Word. Even though I didn't come to the truth, I started to come to the truth because I was just dealing with the scriptures because that's all I had, right? And long story short, I didn't and could not really function properly without my day starting not only with the Word, but some prayer time and actually singing praises to the Most High. The Most High abides where? Come on, say it like you know it. Come on, man. Let's get it. All right. That thing is real. Mm-hmm. That peace that surpasses all understandings and does what? Guards your heart and your mind through who? That thing is real. I'm trying to tell you. It's real. When you at your lowest, when you don't have nothing and nobody, who do we have?
Yep.
So what Mashah was just bringing out back in verse 5, when it says, and hope maketh not ashamed because of the love of the Most High is shed abroad in our hearts by who? Come on now, what does the scripture say?
Mm-hmm. Holy Spirit.
Through the Holy Spirit. And she does what? She comforts and guards our heart and our mind through those treacherous, perilous times we don't have nobody
She
else.
knows we're tender-hearted.
Bring it out. Go ahead. But that's all I got. Yeah,
she knows. Let's go to James 1:19 while we're getting there. James 1:19. She knows we're tender-hearted. She knows how hurt we've been. She knows all the things we've done, all the things we've been in, what we're currently in, what we struggle with, what nobody else knows. I know we had that lesson on confess the sins. Confess your faults. She knows even the ones you just can't bring yourself to tell anybody. She knows that. She knows those feelings. And even in the times we think she's not there, trust me, she's there. Most High is there. Christ is there. Because he didn't come for the righteous. He came for those who needed, the lost. And even those who may have been on the right path at some point and fall away will also get that call. They're not left. James 1:19.
All right, fam, let's get a comment with there. All right, James chapter 1, verse 19. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear.
Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear. Swift to hear. You want to not use your mouth really a lot at all. When it comes down to you want to be able to hear so you can learn, so you can acquire. You can see what things are. If you're not listening, you're just talking, you're not getting anything but your own lips. And maybe whoever might be in there speaking for you, which might not be the Most High or the Holy Spirit. So it'll be, every man be what? Swift to what? Swift to hear. And when we're not sitting up here, we aren't talking much. We're taking in everything from everybody, be it children to adults. Because we have to. That's how we continue to renew our spirit, but also continue to renew our minds to be like children. Children are always listening. They always want to gain something new. So it says be like a child. Christ's words. So that's how we should be. the more we talk, more we in danger of going into foolishness. You can go into folly that way. So listen. Listen. What else?
Slow to speak.
Slow to speak. Can you gain a lot of info and you say, okay, all right, now it's my time to speak. And that goes right along what we were just talking about. Look, tribulation. I know a lot of us, like, we're going through, we want to mouth off or whatever to get this thing right. But look, it says tribulation work with patience. So if you're impatient, you do what? You're slow to speak. But you're quick to listen. All right, what else?
Slow to wrath.
Slow to wrath.
Uh-oh.
That's something that you can see throughout the scriptures with all the brethren. They were slow to wrath. Because our people can push you there easily. And even other nations too. Be quick to yell at another nation, quick to yell at our own people, but at the same time, the whole time is really us with the issue. So be slow to what?
Wrath.
Slow to wrath. Again, these things will fit you well in these times to come, as we're going through tribulations. All right, is that it?
Verse 20?
Yep, hit 20 for me.
Okay. Verse 20. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of a higher.
Worketh not the righteousness of the Most High. Now, the Most High, he's allowed to have wrath because it's righteous. When we have wrath, it's in our flesh. There's a time for wrath, and it's his. Vengeance is his, not ours. Wrath comes from only one spiritual source, or a group of them who fell. With the fallen ones. When that wrath starts to hate, and the hate starts to murders. And it doesn't have to be a fleshly murder, it could be a murder in the heart. That you just progress. So no different than what we read earlier in Romans. You'll progress to the same thing on the other side. Tribulations work with patience, but then tribulations can work with wrath. The flip side of the coin. So as we go through this lesson today, trials of the prophets, you're all going to face this on some level. So let's go to 1 Peter 4. We got to remember these tribulations. We got to remember these times we're in. That we got to have these small little scriptures they have, just like, hey, maybe not speak so much. Hey, maybe listen more. Hey, maybe not get angry at the drop of a hat. Maybe this might be a reason for these things. They're not there. The words aren't there in vain.
You know, it's funny talking about wrath. Everybody's finding that scripture. Oftentimes, that's why it's not good to deal in judgment of any sort when, right away.
Yep.
Or especially when you're pissed off,
yep.
Because typically that's the wrath that's coming out.
You have no idea.
It's not the real straightforward judgment that should be dealt out, wisely. So.
Yep. As anybody in kind of any leadership or anyone who aspires to be in leadership at any point, no matter what you hear, that wrath has to be real slow, if at all. And why I say that, because you will hear lots of things where you think that you may figure out what it is or whatever through your own understanding, but that don't necessarily mean that's what it is. And you could be going into sin and then falsely accusing if you push yourself to that limit.
God.
So you got to just wait. That's an issue with Israel. Patience, humbleness, meekness, temperance. All those things breed peace and joy and long suffering. But nevertheless, we're still going to have trials. Let's go to 1 Peter 4.
Oh, we should know this one by heart.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you ready, fam? Yeah. 1 Peter 4:11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God.
If any man speak, Let him speak as the oracles of the Most High. A majority of the communication out of your mouth, if we can train ourselves to be all of the communication coming out of our mouth, should be coming right out of here. It don't have to be, 1 Corinthians 2 and 3, 11.
It's like running into them brothers.
It's not that.
With the law all the time, right?
Right. This is speaking and taking the mannerisms of your brethren who came before you. Christ being the one, and then those who follow Christ. And taking those mannerisms and taking those words that they said and being able to speak to it in a way that people of that time or of that oak can understand. So if any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of the Most High. All right, keep going.
If any man minister, let him do it as the ability which the Most High giveth.
Again, this is where patience come in, because a lot of us will get kind of excited. If any man minister, let them do it as of the ability which the Most High giveth. Because some folks will get the zeal to teach or to give information, but they're not exactly ready themselves to handle what comes with it. So if let any man minister, let him do with the ability the Most High giveth. What is your gift? You know it. You know you. If your gift isn't teaching, do something that you know was meant for you. Doesn't make you any less a part of the body.
Last time I checked, the feet's supposed to get the most glory.
Who's holding the whole body up? Feet. So are some of these brothers that are out here that you don't even have to ask them to pick up a broom, take out the trash, sweep? Oh, Usher's not here. You know, Usher has an issue with the ushers. I'll take the door. Those brothers, sisters that do that kind of thing, feet. Underpinnings. Without them, this won't work. We should all be feet. At some point. We can't start in the middle. Can't start as heads and hearts and arms. We should all be feet. Start as feet. I know anybody who can appreciate working up in a business, starting from like maybe even a corporate American. You start small. You start maybe in the mailroom, where you find out, hey, this is where the mail comes, and this is where all these, this is where everything goes, and I get to travel around the whole company and see what everybody does. Or even the janitor, while he's cleaning up, he's getting to meet everybody and see everything, and knowing how, wow, without this, I mean, this place won't operate. But they learn that way, and then maybe they master that and teach someone else, and they say, you know what, maybe it's time for me to move on to something bigger. Maybe I'll take over accounts management or something. Or maybe my goal is to, I see the way the company could be ran and help that. But they learned, and they never forgot when they were feet, when they were at the bottom, which is not even the bottom, it's just a foundation. There's no tall buildings without foundation. And the buildings out here with the weak foundations, they topple. So we should all learn to be at our foundations first. Figure this out before we go on to be something greater. Because you don't want to be built out of straw or sticks or have cracks in your foundation because you hastily created it and didn't want to move up. Keep going.
The middle of verse 11. That the Most High in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever.
That in the Most High in all things. So all these things that we're doing is for the glory of the Most High, not us. Only Him. This is why the commandments are pure. When you're honoring things as simple as like your mother and father, who were the vessel to bring you life, without them you're not here. And then even though they might not honor their mother and father, the trail always goes back to where? the Father. That's where we all came from. So all glory still goes to him regardless of the little things we see. Little things that we do. I'm careful myself to say I anything. The only I know is I am.
God.
Anybody else? All praise to the Most High. That I'm able to sit here and stand here today. All praise the Most High. These brothers were able to make it today. These sisters were able to make it today. All glory goes to him.
You know what's interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Who dealt with that? Matter of fact, the congregation, who dealt with that problem? He messed up. He slipped up one time, and it almost cost him the kingdom. Actually, yeah. You can't answer the question, brother. You're supposed to know. Killing me, Smalls. Yeah, Moses. Okay. So, and just in the same vein of what Mashai is saying, what did Moses do? What did he do that almost cost him? Where they had to fight over his body.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, bring it out. What y'all got? All right. Say it louder, though. You can. All right. So, but the biggest problem with that was what who? So who was supposed to get the credit for that? There we go. So even like even in my own household, my kids, they tell me, oh, thank you, Daddy, for this and that. And I'll be like, nah, thank the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's straight like that. Yeah. Just, it should be even to that level. Because anything we have, our jobs, positions, so on, it all comes from the Most High. We can't take credit for nothing. And for my other brothers, we can't take credit for Nathan.
Nope.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Nope.
God? Yeah, God.
And then the next line of scriptures, here it goes. As the trial of the prophets. What's 12 say?
Verse 12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you.
Beloved. When he's talking to his loved people. Those ones who, you know what, the Most High is not with me right now. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, for sure. When you come to serve the Most High, prepare your what? Your soul for temptation. Those who just were recently baptized, I'm pretty sure there have been some differences. Those who've been baptized for a year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm sure you've seen, since you've been removed from that point, the difference. It's like stepping through a mirror. You were living in another world at that point. That wasn't even the real world. Now you're in the real world.
You stepped into Wonderland.
Yeah, you're looking around and you just realize there's other people still stuck on the other side, even though they're right beside you. But you are somewhere else now. Those fiery trials that specifically target those who are beloved and have crossed over to what the Most High side, not the world. The fiery trials to come. What else?
Middle of verse 12. As though some strange thing happened unto you.
Oh, it's going to be some weird, strange things happening just to you. Like we were saying this week, we had a okay week, most of us. Externally, nothing was really wrong. But something inside is tugging. There's a different fight starting to happen. It's ramped up. The air is different. Everything is starting to change. They're pushing that stuff all out there in the media too. It's just some things are definitely changing. And it's odd. It's like you don't know what to make of it, but it's for a purpose. But it's for sure strange. Just doesn't make sense, but you feel off and unsettled. You will.
You know what you know what it partially feels like? Because I felt it too. What's that in you probably need Charlemagne John in Baruch, the attack of the specters in the chambers.
Yep.
Can you find that in the
we were just talking about that. Yeah, that's
find that right. If you know
that's second Baruch 27.
Yeah, we get that in a little bit, but yeah, no, it's something because there's even like high demonic stuff going on.
We can talk about that. You see again, we're talking about these wearing out of the saints, these trial of the prophets. You're starting to see the people of the Most High get persecuted just off of like breathing. The fact that you exist. It's one example. Sister went to the pool and somebody called the police on it because he felt that she shouldn't have been allowed there. And she had a pool card and everything. And the police come and ask her to scan her pool pass. Like, that's not, like, seeing it's not enough. So we've been here, just as long as most nations. Yet, till this day, still seem like we're under even more attack than usual. And we're supposed to have progressed, or the world would say we progressed to a better place. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing that at all. I'm just seeing a splitting off. I'm seeing wheat and tare season. I see it just a little differently than others. And the world would see, not us. But yeah, these fiery trials, there's some strangeness now in the air. Specters and chittims, yes, I would say. It's definitely spiritual. What else?
Verse 13. But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers in Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy.
All right.
Verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye.
So if you be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye. Because that internal issues that we're having, and even on the externals that we're seeing with the world, it's done to be reproached for the name of Christ. It says be happy in that. Because does not the Most High do these things to those he loves? And all he's doing is trying this so we can be made perfect when we meet him and be with him completely. What else?
Happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of the Most High resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. Mm-hmm. Verse 15. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters.
So, but let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. I don't know about you, but there's enough to concern myself out here than hating my brother to the point of murder, stealing when I know I should not. And it's not just like, hey, I'm shoplifting. There's other ways to steal, right? Or as an evildoer. Because, the world's pulling you in so many different directions. I'm sure you understand it and see it. Like how you can't go to work without 50 million meetings. And you can't even do your job anymore. And that they push these meetings to force you to be competitive with your brethren. Something you're not supposed to be doing. Because it's not a race for like the kingdom. This is a race for somebody else's dollar. Or as an evildoer, a busybody in other men's matters. It's not like you're a manager or something when you have to do that. But I see this all around where people are so caught up in what other people are doing, especially those who have the most mess in their own houses.
Lord have mercy.
And will then have to find a way to justify that they're living okay because other folks on the external are living worse than they are. And they can point and talk about it. And busy themselves, and that's their whole existence. Till death. All right, what else?
Verse 16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian,
a follower of Christ, okay.
Let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify the Most High on his behalf.
If you're following Christ, from the book of Genesis to Revelation, and you're suffering because of it, and it doesn't have to be, your life could be on the external be perfect. Your job can be fine, your cars could be fine, your family on the external could be okay, stable in world standards, but internal you still got like the wrestling that flesh and blood. Do not be ashamed. That was part of the contract. That was part of the contract when you signed up to be here with the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. He wants to see who's worthy in the end. And if he's trying you no different than Job got tried, and Abraham got tried, and Moses got tried. So these trials of the prophets are no different than what you are going to go through, to an extent. So when it said, let every man minister to their ability, look, he's going to try you to your ability too. To say, okay, I see you're doing the works of me, but how deep in this are you? How deep is your roots? Let me turn the sun up just a bit to see if that plant withers, because the roots aren't deep. Let me bring some birds to take away those little seeds that I planted in you, to see if Satan's allowed to come into you at any time, that you've given the gateway to him. You will continue to be tried like that. But be joyous in this, because he means that you are still in the family. Because once the trials stop and you still breathing, and I'm talking about trials internally, because again, the external could change. Once those trials stop and you feel like everything's been good, long-term peace, which that won't necessarily happen here. You'll get short periods of peace, and that's what you're joyous in those, and in the tribulations, you're joyous in those, because they're like, you know what? It's because I'm following him that I'm going through this mess. But I know this life is temporary, and his life is forever. So I could take this little bit of nonsense. But be joyous in those things. Let's go to 1 Kings 19. Let's talk about a situation. Because, again, sufferings of the prophets and the saints and the people of the Most High will continue to go on. Those trials will continue to happen. But joyous you will be. Welcome to the family. That's what I would say. When we said welcome to the family, when y'all got dipped in the water, that's what we meant. Welcome to the family. All right, so we got this problem, we got that problem. Where you fit in, brother, sister? We need to pick up a mop or something, or, do some counsel or something. It's time to work. This ain't time to just sit in the pew and listen to me. Listen to Arnon, or listen to Shalimar, or listen to Officer John. Ain't time for that. It's time to work.
Where's the work at, huh?
Where's the work?
It's not in here.
It's out there.
God.
Yeah. 1 Kings 19.
Hey,
Just some stories we got out here.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I know you've been baptized about 5, 6 years, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm on 4.
4? Okay.
4.5.
So we roughly like the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what, 5, 6 years?
Yeah, 5. Right in front of me.
Do the trials ever stop? Because that might
Never.
be a question that someone may have. Like, did you get to this point where, we were like a Super Saiyan 3 out this joint, and you're good now, I don't have to worry, like I can handle all the other lower things. Did you get to that point? I haven't. I haven't.
Never.
I just been getting tried recently. It's always another level in somewhere where we can grow to become more perfect.
Yep.
There's always somewhere else.
If you think you made it, you didn't fool yourself.
Yeah. And then there's levels to that same situation, whatever it is. I thought, right? I'll give you a prime example. I thought I was able to control my anger and my wrath. I thought, I'm good now. I'm straight. I've been getting tried lately. I'm good. God, this under the wrap. It's easy. Got it. Good, right? Oldest trick in the book, my boss. The first and easiest one. Your boss most bosses piss everybody off, right? Okay. Man, this dude got under my skin, and I couldn't believe and I got upset with myself, because I'm like, how did I allow
Coach, you slipping, bro. Yep.
to get me under my skin? So
yep.
I killed him with kindness. Instead of being vengeful, because I'm at a position where I could do something at work that'll get you hemmed up. Easy. Ain't no problem. I got more experience than my boss. I know what I'm doing. Point is, though, I didn't do that, even though no one was around me. Your integrity's getting tested. Your integrity, right? What you gonna do when no one's around?
Yep.
The angels of the presence are doing what? What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Don't do it. Don't do it, Doc.
They're holding court on you.
Straight like that.
They holding court
Bruh,
on
you.
you.
So
150% of the time.
Yeah. And I believe this is what happened. In me not taking any vengeance and actually showing my brother love, my neighbor love more so, right? I actually got blessed with 3 other opportunities better than the one I have now.
Yep.
Straight like that.
Just wanted to see what you're
going
to do.
And it all happened in like a week.
Yep.
I got tested 1 week. The very next week, it was like, oh, okay. And it all came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Because you never know where the tests and trials are going to come from. They're just going to hit. You never know.
Yep.
You just never know. Are you going to
by
pass
faith,
the test?
not by sight.
Yeah. Straight up, man.
Walk by faith, not by sight.
It's real, man.
And again, that's where you get to that. And we talk about it many times in here. You're going to get, especially after baptism, you're going to get so many fork in the roads, I call them.
Don't stop.
They're the fork in the roads. Which direction you going to take? One obviously reads the righteousness in life. The other one to death and damnation. And you can take that death and damnation road and maybe take a little untraveled path back onto the righteous path. But some of those paths right there, they make it real hard to circle back. It's not lighted. You know, the path gets dusted as soon as you leave it. Sometimes you get stuck on that path if you go far enough in. So as you're walking in that straight and narrow path, sometimes you're going to look down and see other avenues. Don't go. Don't do it. And we're just saying that because you're going to get faced with anger. You're going to get faced with those things you get tried with. That's not going to stop. That's going to get worse because you know more now. These only trials A students. When A students been doing A work, then you got to give them harder tests. They can't get tested like the rest of the grade. You moved up to gifted and talented now. Right? You was in regular school. Now you're in gifted and talented. Oh, you think you're a college professor because you've been lining this book up left and right? AP courses now. Think you're a college professor, now you're going to get college tests. Worse and worse. And it's more refined. That's how I know the spiritual world is a little different than here. When it comes down to, when you can kind of see how the spiritual world is almost like an adult life. When you see spirits that are kind of loose-lipped and just, don't have the control, they're like teenagers. Teenagers don't really know better. They just act out. They do certain things. They kind of have some reasoning, but as you move up and start learning more, even the spirit worlds themselves, you'll start getting refined spirits where, the fight's no longer on the external. Now it's just all in. All in here. They're more refined, though. So you got your foot soldiers versus your generals. Some of us are going against generals. Some of us are fighting against foot soldiers because they don't need to put anybody strong. They don't have to call artillery. They don't have to call Air Force on you. Yeah, they just worry. They can just use the privates and the sergeants and lieutenants on you. But then as you read and as you become more around with your brothers and sisters to learn that experience, tribulation, patience and experience. As you get that experience, you're going to get tried in different ways. Ways you didn't even know you had that problem. No, I really have that problem now. Right. And you know it. Being real with yourself. You confess your faults. You don't got to say it to a person. You can confess to the Most High. Or you're like, look, I see it. You got me. I'm not ignorant no more. You got me. It's time to work.
It was funny because the one simple script, let a man examine himself. It's a continual thing. That's probably why they put it right there in that same passage next to the communion, because you're supposed to do the communion on a regular basis. So you should be examining yourself on a regular basis.
Because, you can be married and hide everything from your wife. She can see everything on the external, but she don't know what's going on there if you don't say anything. So the fight could just be between you and the spiritual world. That's it. Most High, Christ, Yeshua, Holy Spirit, and all the angels and demons that know everything about you too. So sometimes it's just going to be like that. That's just growth. You're not going to get external. You're not going to get people come at you directly. Sometimes it's just going to be the spirit world fighting. You say, yeah, I can't tempt them the same way anymore. I gotta refine this how we attack them too. All right. So we're going to this 1 Kings 19. Interesting story, because we a lot of us can relate to these things. Just in this walk, you get to certain points in your life, and it's a dark place sometimes, and it's not necessarily laid out in the scriptures. But I've seen where it lines up with certain feelings that I've seen other men and even myself have, just because of the point you're pushed to. All right, keep going.
All right, family. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 1. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah...
We know that, yeah, we've heard that name before, right? Sorry to surprise you.
I forgot.
Sorry to surprise you, but Jezebel is in this story.
Lord have mercy.
So, again, whatever worldly thought process you had with it, you're about to get a scriptural backing of what she is. Right. So Ahab told Jezebel
all that Elijah had done.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like pillow talk. And with all, how he had slain all the prophets with the sword.
And how he had slain all the prophets with the sword, okay? Because there were some people that weren't of the Most High that were prophets in this time. All right, keep going.
Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, so let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time.
All right.
And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there.
Okay.
Verse 4. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die.
He might what?
Die. He
might die. So the work that he was doing had pushed him to the point. He was saying, Most High, I'm tired. Take me. And you just don't understand that conversation. It's secretly played in a lot of leaders' minds. Because you can see things in a small way when Christ even knew he was going to be killed for righteousness' sake. But he'll say things like, how long must I suffer this wicked generation? He was like, how much longer I got to deal with this?
Even before
this was not a sin on Christ's part at all. This was more the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing.
Was that with the crucifixion? He was like, look, you could take this sepulcher away, but if I must take it, then I'll take it. That's where he's like, you
real
have
talk.
It too. Right, yeah.
How many brothers that have walked to this point throughout the scriptures, even brothers, today, ready to give their lives and say, you know what, whenever, Father, you find it's the time for me to go, it's the time. And I'm not going to fight. Because, the work will push you there. And this is one example here. Keep going.
Middle of verse 4. And said, it is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my father.
That is a struggle with every humble servant. That I'm not worthy of this seat. I feel that way lots of times.
God.
You talk to the elders, they feel that way lots of times. Like, why me?
God.
How strong do you think I am? I don't know how long I can do this. I'm just a man. Just a brother. What's your plan? You do those things as a leader. And as you grow in this word, as a leader of a house, you'll ask those same questions of yourself. Because, you'll start to get just a little tired sometimes. And again, that's the flesh part of things. That continual war. What else?
Verse 5. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, an angel touched him and said unto him, arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baked on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head.
And a cruse is like a pot. So he had like a little pot of water, right? Keep going.
And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. Verse 7. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights.
There we go again. Throughout the word, 40 days and 40 nights, things can become complete for our brothers and sisters. You know, you got Moses on the mount. You got Christ in the wilderness. You got this brother here, 40 days, 40 nights. But he saw he was at his wit's end, Elijah. He saw he was pushing the edge of his earthly strength, really. And then an angel came and comforted, knowing that, look, I need to send an angel on your behalf because I know your struggles. So while we're in these dark things in our minds sometimes, know that, look, he's not left us. He's right there with us. And he knows when we need that we'll have a dark time at home or what have you. And then all of a sudden a brother that wasn't even thinking about you, you didn't even think that he would calls. Right when you need them. Sister calls right when you need them. Not knowing what you were wrestling with before that phone call. Those things didn't stop. The trials of the prophets and the saints still continue today. All right. Sorry about that. Let's go in the book of Jasher. Yep. Go in the book of Jasher 11. So Elijah after having the wicked of our people became prophets of Baal, killed and was being hunted down by the order of wicked Jezebel and her stooge, the husband Ahab. And Elijah was so distraught at one point that he requested the Most High to take him. Sometimes the work pushes you there.
But what said we shouldn't be weary and well doing.
Shouldn't be weary and well doing.
Yeah.
But that's sure to come.
Yeah, right.
That's sure to come. You know what the word says versus what your flesh is saying. So he understands, and that's why, again, Elijah got help. Because he knew where he was pushed to. And he knows where a lot of us get pushed to. So we're in Jasher 11 and 46. So we got to continue to prepare ourselves mentally, spiritually for this. Because it's ramping up. And I can see it, just how my week went, and just me talking to other brothers about their week and how it went. And just realizing that, look, just like I said in the word, we all going through the same things at the same time. Maybe we're not talking about it, but yes, we are going through the same things at the same time. As long as we understand that, we know that, look, this is a concerted effort by the adversary to make sure that we try to give up before this thing is really done. When the finish line is right there. So these trials of the prophets continue. Let's go to Joshua 11.
Let's get a comma there. All right. Book of Jasher, chapter 11, verse 4.
And this is the story of Abraham. If you're not familiar with the book of Jasher, this is going to be a story about Abraham.
Okay, and it reads 46. Did not our fathers in the days of old sin in this matter? And the Lord power of the universe brought the waters of the flood upon them and destroyed the whole earth. And how can you continue to do this and serve gods of wood and stone?
So just for the prefaces, for those who are not familiar with this is Abraham speaking with his father. And he's asking him about the gods that he serves. All right, keep going.
Middle of verse 47. Serve gods of wood and stone who cannot hear or speak or deliver you from oppression, thereby bringing down the anger of the Most High of the universe upon you. Now therefore, my father, refrain from this, and bring not evil upon thy soul and the souls of thy household. And Abram hastened and sprang from before his father and took the hatchet from his father's largest idol, with which Abram broke it and ran away.
So his father was trying to use these gods of wood and stones as his faith, and knowing they weren't real. Knowing that this is the same father who had learned under Noah and under Shem and all these brothers that came before Abraham's father. So he knows better.
Talking about Terah?
Terah. So he knows better.
Right.
Yet he still wanted to follow the gods of that land. And he's basically about to get his card pulled. Keep going.
Verse 50. And Terah, seeing all that Abram had done, hastened to go from his house, and he went to the king, and he came before Nimrod and stood before him. And he bowed down to the king, and the king said, What dost thou want?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I beseech thee, my lord, to hear me. Now 50 years back, a child was born unto me.
So, if you didn't know the story about this, there was a prophecy about Abraham to come and be born from a star. Same way Christ was born. So our family structure, it repeats things over and over again. But in this situation here, he had to hide because of the prophecy given to Nimrod about this son to come to thwart all of what they were doing. He had to take his son and move them basically to a cave with, who was it, Noah and Shem?
Yeah, God.
And Abraham learned from Noah and Shem as a young child. So he had a foundation of the word. But circle back to this time frame. This is Abraham and his father, Terah, and Abraham is 50 years old. So he's basically backtracking the story to say, hey, I know we heard, what happened and what was said about the story of my son being killed because they actually faked the death of Abraham at that time. It's a wild story. Read it when you have a chance. He faked the murder of his son.
Well, they gave a different baby.
Gave a different baby. And when I say fake, I mean fake as in Abraham just wasn't die. But they actually killed somebody else that wasn't Abraham. And and now he's basically saying, hey, this son that was supposedly killed is still alive. So now circle back to where we are. This is where we are now in this storyline with Abraham destroying the gods of this kingdom of Nimrod in his house, in Terah's house.
Nimrod at the time, he was the king of the whole earth.
Yep.
As far as, that's what I thought.
At that time, exactly.
Yeah.
Jasher, yep. Read it in Jasher. I didn't want to make the lesson but so long, but this is right previous chapters beforehand. You can get that story up to this point. But I want to kind of show the trials of what our people go to when they're trying to live in a righteous manner. And even do things where they say, look, I'm trying to help my father out because he's definitely going the wrong way. And this is not going to, this is all out of love, really.
Yeah, God.
He wants to make sure his father can at least come back to his senses, knowing that he knows better.
Trying to save his soul.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to save his soul, knowing that, look, we're not supposed to be doing idols even back then. But nevertheless, he had idols all over the place in this house.
Well, it's crazy because when you look at it, with Nimrod being the king of the whole earth at that time, his father Terah was, I believe, a governor.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he was in charge.
So that's kind of like being the president of a whole country. It's the same similitude. So he was following the rules of his quote-unquote God at that time, which was like Nimrod.
Which
so
in turn gives you
pressure for Terah.
Yeah, he's living in two worlds. Knowing his son, what he's from. I mean, I know a lot of brothers out here that we go into these jobs knowing what we know, and we got to see like rainbow flags everywhere, or forced to take sensitivity training where it's like, what's sensitive about it?
Here we go.
I'm this and you're that. I don't. You don't want to accept my way of life, but you want me to accept yours? No, let's do business and that's it. The social issue should be outside of this business. Leave that outside.
That is the business.
But they made that the business.
Yeah.
So it's no different than that. Who exactly? Right. But here what they've done is that they've, and not to get off the scripture, not to get off the lesson, but they've encompassed what they really want to accomplish, and then add us into it to seem like it's a racial / sexuality thing, and it's not. The whole point is to get what their agenda is and ride our backs like they've done for everything else. Like the sister that just was sitting at the feet of the Statue of Liberty, nah. What organization put her there? Because anytime they want an agenda to go out and they wanted to stick and be memorable, use a black face.
Was it a sister?
It was a sister.
I didn't look at it, but
yep.
I saw. I heard.
I knew it. I was like, I seen when I heard it, I was like, it's gotta be a black person. It gotta be a Hebrew. Right? They climbed at the feet. Okay. So now that's iconic. And she had some shirt that said something. I'm like, that's somebody paid and got her up there.
How'd she get over there?
It's to me. They've done this over and over again. When they want a major change to happen or something to go smooth with public opinion, they'll use BLM. You know what that is, Black Lives Matter. They'll use a black face as president. They'll use, they'll just use that as a cover. Us is usually as a cover to get anything else in. So when they wanted to have, the LGBT community get more rights, they used the black plight. Mm-hmm. So now with the sensitivity training, they're saying, well, yeah, blacks are being persecuted, but so are gays. We go through this, it's the same training, just to give you insight. They encompass that all together, because apparently homosexuality is a race. But they can't, I'm guessing they can change and not hide it or whatever. Yeah, I can't change my color of my skin, I don't think, so.
Oh, you needed some bleach, brother.
Right. But that's where it is. That's where it is. So to that point, just in that scriptures, when you see Terah he's living in two different lives. He knows what the word says. However, all of what he's gotten is because he's been following these false gods. So circles back to our parents who live in these lifestyles and have built up this falsehood of what society wants them to be. Even as you're still not accepted, however, you still chase everything they have. It's no different than you trying to talk to them and say, maybe we should go another way. Whoa, I spent all this time getting this 401k and house together. It can't be for nothing. That's pride when you hold on to those things. That's not of the Most High. Your material was made you who you are. And this is where it happened to Terah. Material has made him who he is. And we're going to find out at the end of the lesson how this parallels to today. Keep going.
All right, middle of 51.
You good?
And thus has he done to my gods. Let me back up.
You good?
51. And he said, I beseech you, my Lord, now hear me. Now 50 years back a child was born unto me. And thus has he done to my gods, and thus has he spoken. And now therefore, my Lord and King, send for him that he may come before thee and judge him according to the law, that we may be delivered from his evil.
So you're seeing Abraham basically go to the government to turn in his son.
Not Terah.
Terah.
The father turned over.
Terah, Terah turning in Abraham to the government.
Because he broke his God.
Because he broke his gods.
Come on, man.
Who, I mean, to this point, and this is the more backstory, Abraham had already put some meat in front of one of the gods to see if he could eat it.
Yeah, right.
Because he's saying, look, we're going to give offerings. We'll give offerings to them. If they live in God, let's give it to them. They'll eat the steak then, I'm sure, right?
Right.
Steak was still sitting there. And Abraham was like, bro, you know they not real. Why would you do that?
Then he made them fight each other. And
Yeah.
he broke up the statue. He said, the big one wanted
The
to get
big
the little
one did
one.
it.
Oh, man.
It was that guy.
He had jokes,
The
man.
biggest
Abraham
one.
had jokes.
I mean, it's hilarious. You read that, it's like reading the soap opera. It's funny as I don't know what.
Right.
But yeah, in this situation, you have Terah turning in Abraham, saying, look, I need ICE to go after him. I need the FBI to investigate my son. He's making strange behaviors. Bring him to me. Right? Let's keep going to Jasher 12:1. Let's see how this wraps up.
Joshua chapter 12, verse 1. And when the king heard the words of Abram, he ordered him to be put into prison.
So when the king heard the words of Abraham, he ordered him to be put into prison. And what?
And Abram was 10 days in prison.
And Abraham was put in prison 10 days. Sounds like Revelations to me. Which say you will be what?
In prison.
Persecuted and put in prison for 10 days. See the scriptures line up? Keep going.
Verse 2. And at the end of those days, the king ordered that all the kings, princes, and governors of different provinces and the sages should come before him. And they sat before him, and Abram was still in the house of confinement.
All right, so he had him in jail. All right, keep going.
And the king said to the princes and sages, have you heard what Abram, the son of Terah, has done to his father? Thus has he done to him. And I ordered him to be brought before me. And thus has he spoken. His heart did not misgive him, neither did he stir in my presence. And behold, now he is confined in the prison. And therefore decide what judgment is due to this man who reviled the king, who spoke and did all the things that you heard.
You should be brought to courts, right? All that's said in Revelation. You should be brought before kings. Keep going.
Verse 5. And they all answered the king, saying, the man who revileth the king should hanged upon a tree.
Ooh. Curses a man that what?
God.
Hang on a tree. And it's the curse for following the Most High's law. And it's not a curse from the Most High. It's the world's persecution of following his laws, statutes, and commandments. Keep going.
But having done all the things that he said, and having despised our gods, he must therefore be burned to death. For this is the law in this matter.
So not to make this story too long, to go further down the line, he was actually placed into a fire. Abraham was. So you had the first persecution of, you're going to be hung on a tree, and then the decision was like, you know what, we're going to burn them. And these burnings happen when you had a mass burning where everybody could see it. The whole town, city comes out, they go to the pit, and they see somebody get burned. Now, during this time, you had some things going on between Abraham and his brother, Nahor, right? Nahor.
Nahor,
Yep. And, sorry, Haran. His Haran. Excuse me. So he had his brother Haran, who was kind of like his road dog at the time, but Haran had some internal mechanisms inside him. He was saying, I don't know what to believe. Do I go with Abraham and the Most High, or do I go with the world, because right now we about to get burned in the flames. So I'm trying to save myself, I think. But I don't want to look like I'm being weak to Abraham. So he was at a crossroads. So what happens is he ends up doing this whole charade all the way up into the fire. Really wasn't in with the Most High. He was fearful probably, I'm sure, but also was like, is we going to die for this? Really? And he gets placed in the fire, him and Abraham. And the fire is so hot, I mean, folks can be near it. People got burned that weren't even associated with the fire. They were just tending to it. Folks got burned. And he was in the fire, Abraham, for 3 days, walking around.
But you see the confidence that Abram had? The indifference to Haran. You see the confidence that he had in verse 3.
Keep going.
He was talking to the king. He's talking to Nimrod, the king of the whole earth, right? He said, and I ordered him to be brought before me, and thus he spoken. His heart did not misgive him. His heart wasn't beating out his chest.
He wasn't going to change, yep.
He wasn't
no
shook.
fear.
Yep. He wasn't shook. He really had his trust in
the Most High.
The Most High. Neither did he stir. He didn't get shook. He wasn't worried in his presence. That's deep.
Yeah.
Unlike his brother.
And that's no different than when you're dealing in society, when you're dealing with folks in business or whatever, or you dealing with your boss, and some people get scared when they talk to the boss. Brother, you just a man. And you're over me at the same time. We bow down to the same power, even if you don't profess them. So with that, the same way. Look, you can speak to the president. The president can be right here. There's not going to be any difference for us. But yeah, exactly. In the end, so just to finish that story, so you had Haran and Abraham thrown in the fire, and immediately Haran was completely dust. But Abraham, the binds on his hands and feet burned, but his clothes didn't even singe. Walked in the fire for 3 days. They saw him walk in the fire for 3 days, and then they tried to get him, try to see if they could do the same thing, and end up getting burnt themselves. Because they said it must be some trick he's doing.
Right.
And it ends up just coming out right out the fire like it was nothing. Not even smelled like smoke. He didn't even smell like smoke. It's the hedge over the brother. For his beliefs, his strong beliefs, and his heart of faith, that even in time of trouble, the Most High will deliver you, if it's his will.
You know what's interesting?
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially after yours just got baptized, that passage. Gold is tried in the fire, right?
Yep. Acceptable men.
And acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, right? So, when the Most High come back, what are you going to do? Well, excuse me, when Yeshua comes back, what is he going to do?
Yep. The purge.
So do y'all think it's a literal fire?
Mm-hmm. Gold is tried.
I ask certain people this question, they don't know. I'm curious. As per what the scriptures say, do you think it's a literal fire? Who says yes? Who says no? Okay. All right, that's good.
So if you think of yourself as a brother working in or a sister working in like a nuclear power plant, and these laws, statutes, and commandments, for you to walk in the presence of this machinery and this mineral, it's a metal, uranium.
Okay.
To be in the presence of it, you have to have a protective suit on. Full suit, booted and everything, gloves. What he's saying here, look, my hedge over you is to follow me while your heart, mind, soul. If you have that hedge over you, nothing can come to you. Nothing can destroy you.
It's funny. What's the scripture say, man? The angel that dwells within you to protect you and keep you.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all believe that 100%? What are angels made out of? What else? Because fire is the lower element of what they really made. As per what the scriptures say, angels are made out of. What are they made out of? Water and something else. You're very close. Lightning. Scriptures say, read Enoch. It tells you what they were made from the gleam of the Most High's eye. So if the angel dwells within you to protect you and keep you, nothing can harm you. Think about it. Think about it. Come on, man.
Think about, you ever seen a volcano go off?
God.
And if you see a volcano, not personally, but look online. Look a volcano up, like a big eruption. What you'll see is lightning
Come on.
come out of the fire.
Fire is the lowest element of electricity. There are electrons that are emitted from fire. Believe it or not. How you think you can have a fire turbine? It's taking the electrons and converting it to electricity. It's exactly. It's like that's why when people say they discovered fire and all this and that, was a big deal. That was the beginning of harnessing electricity.
Let's go back to let's go to Exodus chapter 20. No, it's just I don't have to. You can go to Exodus chapter 20. Right, we just read it today. We read over it every day we're here at Shabbat. 20 and 18.
There it is.
Read that. And then think, while you're reading that, as like you're reading any book that you've ever read as a child or what have you, you know you have that imagery. Think about it. What's being said?
Verse 18. And all the people, the Israelites, saw the thunderings.
The what? The thunderings and what?
And the lightnings.
And the lightnings and what?
And the noise of the trumpet.
And the what?
And the mountain smoke.
When there's smoke, there's what?
Bring it out.
Fire. And what else?
And the people saw it, and they removed and stood afar off.
They were what?
They were sure.
Scared. What do you think Moses was feeling? He was in faith and walked into a flaming mountain, thundering and lightning. And when he came down, his face shone. His face shone. So you see these amazing things that we think about the purification that's to come. To fire will certainly happen.
God.
So when we talk about these trials, Literal fire. Literal fire. Con. Let's go to Mark 13 and 4. These trials of the prophets and saints. Christ laid them out. Everybody good? Let's get it.
Mark chapter 13, verse 4. Tell us, when shall these things be?
This is Christ, and this is the disciples asking, tell us, when shall these things be? All right, keep going.
And what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled?
All right.
And Yeshua answered them, began to say, take heed lest any man deceive you.
Take heed. Now, I always pause at the beginning of these, even when I'm reading in Matthew, because the first thing he's giving you is saying, take heed, lest any man deceive you. Remember, we're dealing with flesh and blood. No matter how brother we are, we still always have to check it. Because even in disciples' times, or what have you, you always got somewhere down the line, there's a chink in the armor. Because if there isn't, you don't get things like the brother that betrayed Christ and his own brethren. That they all learned the same, but this one brother still had a way of letting Satan in. Happens. It's going to be our own. It's continuously been our own. They're going to be used to thwart us on this walk. It said, but take heed lest any man deceive you. Keep going.
Verse 6. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, or I'm Christ-like. Follow me.
I'm a Christian.
I follow the book, but the book's closed. And shall deceive many. Keep going.
Verse 7. And when you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled.
So when you shall hear of wars, because, be honest with you, I know a lot of brothers and sisters that aren't necessarily reading the word are seeing the horizons of a race war. Just off how society is starting to portray what we're doing and how the rest of the world sees us. So every video they show every week, because they don't have to show any of these. They have the ability to not have anything out there. They could keep putting out what they want. But these make the forefront. These make the forefront. And you're seeing persecutions on two fronts right now. Northern tribe, separation of families, and southern tribe. Getting the police called on them for random things. Selling water. A child. And that'll anger you. You're like, folks are out there, oh my, I'm outraged. And then you step back and say, we've been here for plus 400 years at this point almost. And this is what we still going through. You still going to march and say this is against our rights. That same old song, pony show that they've done every generation. They just let time go past, let the folks who were in their 60s get older and don't want to fight no more because they got comfortable and got their government jobs. And now they get the kids who they were ignored because they were working too hard and don't want to be parents anymore. And now those kids have been raised by what? Schools and the internet and their friends and rap and music.
It's too much.
All that.
Slow down, brother. It's too much. It's too much.
You have that society now. That whole generation of lost kids. Now becoming what they call them, SJWs now, social justice warriors.
Warriors, huh?
Yep, social justice warriors. They're fighting for a cause.
What's they called?
To make everything equal.
Oh, okay.
That men, women, non-binaries, whoever they want to be, whatever you want to be.
Binaries. Yeah, come on.
In the end, this world is saying, let's be lawless. So we circle back to the beginning of the lesson. We talked about Independence Day. That's the independence they're talking about. Lawlessness. What else? Those rumors of wars, you're going to keep seeing this. They're going to keep flooding that out there. That's a problem. You gotta stand behind them. You gotta stand for equality, or none of us gonna get it. When they're searching for earthly equality, we're looking for the Most High's approval. And that's it. So you hear wars and rumors of wars, and what up?
Middle of verse 7. For such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet.
So with all these things we see, it says, be not troubled. Such things must needs to be. This gotta happen. All it's doing is pursing out where everybody needs to be. What side are you on again? Oh, you're on that side? Okay. Wheat. Oh, are you on this side? Okay, there you go. Tear. And then the harvest comes. So what they've done is they've forced you to pick a side. If you don't want to, be part of this, that's fine. You'll still pick a side. Because the folks out here to say, look, I don't believe in God. You chose a side.
Okay.
I don't know how to have any religion. I'm an atheist. It takes a lot of belief to believe in nothing. So these choices are being made for you, even if you're trying to play on the sideline to say, I'm good. Because there was already a brother who half-stepped early in the scripture in Haran, and he got burned in the flames. That don't save you. Being halfway. That's lukewarm. Gotta be all in. Can't be double-minded. Unstable in all his ways. And that's what we have, double-mindedness. Men can be women, men can be men. I was talking with some brothers earlier. They've already figured out how to make life without an egg and sperm. That story is just out there now. What they've done is they've taken skin cells from a mouse, just took skin cells, and were able to make it have the inner workings of what a womb would be, and actually produced a mouse from it. So what you have is a agenda of where men and women don't even need to come together anymore and be married. They're going to end up playing, and what we want to understand too, because when the Most High is involved, you have souls that go into. So what do you have? Soulless bodies coming, which are what? We read it in the scriptures a few lessons ago. Who gets inhabited? This should show you, if they got to make bodies, how many spirits are out there that need bodies?
What's it say in Revelation, Doc? This is the habitation of devils.
Habitation of devils.
Straight like that.
So you have those kind of things happening. You don't think this is not part of the trial? That's wild. That's things you would never have imagined could have happened, that you could have children without any copulation. And this was the one fight they had to stand on when someone that's on the side of not homosexual, but on the side of being straight says, well, you can't have children. They said, that don't hold us anymore. Because what they do, they end up adopting children and make them exactly what they are. That same recruiting spirit that Satan and all his demons completely do all the time. I want you to be like me. So yeah, you have stuff like that going on. Just if you get a chance, go out there and look it up. I don't think that story is new either. That's like an older story, but they just kind of released it now, like more broad, more mainstream. But he just had Pride Month, and now you have a story like that coming out. So they're completely trying to control life and death, and be what? As gods. The trials of the prophets and saints continue. So you got what? Wars and rumors of wars says, be not troubled, ends not yet. Still some more things that have to be done. Verse 8.
For nation shall rise against nation.
Nation against nation, or it's people against people. Israel against Esau, or what have you. It's your bloodline. Your nation. Nation of Israel. Nation of Yashala. And there's other nations elsewhere. So this is not the countries. They change the word so you can ignore exactly what they're trying to say here. Somebody else would read it and said, oh, that must be Europe against Russia. Then what's the next line say? What does it say?
Kingdom against kingdom.
Kingdom against kingdom. So you have kingdoms all over the earth. But you also have another fight. You have the Most High's kingdom versus Satan's kingdom. So you have people against people, and then kingdom being the heavenlies against the earthlies, or other kingdoms across the earth, which are in line with the one kingdom of the earth. So that's your kingdom against kingdom. What else?
And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places.
I was looking at this like, wow, okay, it's going to be lots of earthquakes. But then I failed to realize something as simple as, wow, we've gotten so many different volcano eruptions all over the world. And guess what I found out? They measure a lot of these earthquakes, a lot of these volcanoes and earthquakes, seismographs, because they cause the same thing. So these earthquakes in diverse places, you're seeing volcanoes go off in diverse places, which cause earthquakes in diverse places.
Yo, it's crazy because everything's a trickle-down effect.
All of it.
Right? So when you look at it, why did hell enlarge herself? Come on, somebody. Talk to me. Let's speak up, people. Let's speak up. Okay, because the sinner's sinning, right? Because of iniquity, right? So hell have enlarged herself. Where is hell?
Under the earth. Yep.
So those earthquakes in diverse places because of those volcanoes, back to Mashai's point, everything is a trickle-down effect because of our actions.
They'll call it volcanoes on the news to cover up that it's really earthquakes too.
Right.
You have ground opening up left and right, people driving into pits in random places. I randomly heard, and just not even heard, I saw a story and I was like, what? There's a volcano off the coast of like Maine or something.
Really?
I didn't even know that was part of it. They never talk about it.
No.
Apparently there's either volcano or earthquake along the lines of where like New York is and towards the northeast. I said, where did this come from? Just appearing left and right. So is this a brand new one or something they knew about? Who knows?
Wow.
But you're about to get diverse places all over the place, places where you did not think these things would happen. They start happening.
It's crazy.
Yep, keep going.
Verse 8, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles.
And there shall be famines and troubles. We talk about it a lot in here. That famine, it's a trick of the eyes. Because if you look at the fact that all of our food has to be divided as in organic or non-organic or GMO this and non-GMO that, what's it saying about what your real food is? And the fact that everybody has to eat more of it just to gain some kind of filling. But they won't say things like, yeah, when you microwave your food, all the nutrients is gone out of it. Or when they radiate the food before it gets to you, that takes the nutrients out of it. Or the apple that you're eating in your store has wax on it that allows it to be alive for be an apple for months. That apple didn't just come off the tree yesterday. That apple was probably 4 months old with wax over it to prevent oxygen from getting to it. But as it stayed that way, inside it was dying. The nutrients that it had from that tree is no longer there. So what are you eating? Nothing. What does famine mean? A lack of food. So you have a lack of substance. So you have a whole supermarket full of food that isn't there. It's there with your eyes. But in reality, it's not even there. So the famine pretty much has already started. Water shortages now? Okay. Yep. And every time there's, some destruction somewhere, and a lot of destruction is starting to happen in places where we grow food. When the hurricanes were hitting, down in the south, a lot of those places, they were getting hit. So we had to get our food from elsewhere. California had those water shortages, all the grapes and things we used to get. Strawberries, everything went up or didn't exist anymore. All throughout the Midwest, that's nothing but that's about the grain belt. That's where all your wheat and everything comes from. They have nothing but tornadoes. You think a tornado is going to spare a wheat field? If it goes through a wheat field, that crop is gone.
You know what's crazy, man? Looking at it from the outside in, like, we think there's so much water on the earth, but I believe the statistics, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the statistics say that the earth only has, at this present moment, 3% of fresh water. 3%. 3. 1, 2, 3. That's it.
The rest of it's undrinkable.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the stats say 3. I was listening to something the other day.
Yeah.
What brother, who that, bro, Rich?
Yeah, that's not even a thing. That's a no. That's why you have all of this ground, all of the ground being unstable because the water's being taken. And they kind of alluded to it, not to get off subject. They kind of alluded to it when they had that drought in California. What they did was that they had to go and tap some ancient springs. Now these springs, they don't tell you. They take 10,000 years or so to actually, whatever the year was. It's not overnight. It takes a long time for that water to replenish. Some of those water things have been tapped out. So now you got caverns that are completely open, that were full of water, no longer there. But we're gonna keep moving. Keep moving. Famines, there'll be famines and what? And troubles and what?
And these are the beginning of sorrows.
These are the beginning of sorrows. What else?
Verse 9, but take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils.
What happened to Abraham? They should deliver you up to councils. What else?
And in the synagogues ye shall be beaten.
In the synagogues, that's where you're supposed to go for refuge. In the synagogues, you shall be beaten. And that beating may be starting already. And it may not just be a physical beating. Because, again, he sends you as sheep among wolves. So we always are going to be surrounded by certain things and not know it. Keep going.
And ye shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake.
What happened to Abraham? This is talking after the fact. So we're saying what? You're in his family, it's going to happen to you again. And again. And again. It's part of the line of the family, what you got to go through. A lot of our brothers and sisters know the courthouse well. They know the law well because they are forced into it. Keep going.
For a testimony against them. Verse 10. And the gospel must first be published among all nations.
And the gospel, and what we're doing now is pushing this word to all four corners. So all the nations will know. All the people, no matter your color, that they all know what's coming. That's why they keep showing you all of these survival shows. They know what's coming. You know how many zombie movies you got to see before they say, they're telling you got to survive. We got brothers and sisters or brothers that are going to be going fishing. We're learning skills. But they're putting out there, look, there's something on the horizon that you got to be ready for. And for some weird way, they got to have to tell you. It seems like they have to tell you before it happens. But they're seeming to put you in line and say, it's time to start thinking about helping yourselves. Before we're not here anymore, talking about those who provide for us, in the earthly sense. For that infrastructure is gone. All right, keep going.
Got a quick question. It says, and this gospel must first be published among all nations. So, quick question. Is there any continent other than Antarctica that this gospel is not being pushed in presently?
Not one.
I'm interactive. I like y'all to talk to me, man. Come on. So,
not one.
Is there any continent? You sure? Australia?
Oh, yeah. It's there.
South America?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's not a continent, though. That's a part of, it's a part of,
Which Russia would have been included in that, so they're like Catholics.
So this is my point, though. At the end of the day, even in South America, right? Because just a few months back, I talked to the brother that's in Guyana, French Guyana, right there at the northern tip of South America. This gospel of the word that we're teaching, not just Christian doctrine, but the actual word, is literally being taught in every continent on this planet. Okay. So this is prophecy being fulfilled.
Oh, yeah.
Is it not?
All right. Definitely is. You talk to people from all over, and they'll tell you, look, I seen your video. Nowhere near
Like there's a GOCC in Guyana.
Mm-hmm. There are folks in Japan, folks in Africa, New Zealand, folks from all the four corners. It's really taking place.
For real.
That word is being published. That gospel is being published among all the nations, and they're right there amongst these other countries, these other places that, so they can see it and witness it. All right, keep going. 11.
But when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate it. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye. For it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Spirit. Verse 12. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death.
Now the brother shall betray the brother to death. But this carries on a little bit more to what else?
And the father, the son.
What did Terah do? He tried to, because of him alerting the king, and it didn't happen, but in a normal circumstance, he would let his own son to death over something that happened within a house that he didn't necessarily have to say anything about. So you have the brother shall betray brother to death. I'm pretty sure we see that on the news every night. The father, the son. It's crazy. I seen a mother. She was 92 years old. And her son apparently was having issues taking care of her. So he was attempting to go put her in a home. So when she found out about this, she said, because you tried to take my life, I'm going to take yours. And she killed him, shot him. 92 years old. And was going to shoot, I think he had a girlfriend, was going to kill her too. But she was able to wrestle the gun away. What kind of hate does it take for a mother to think, premeditated, to think through that I have to kill my son. I don't really care what happens afterwards.
So she said he tried to take her life?
By taking her life, she meant her freedom.
I know, I guess
right?
What I mean, but like, really? Wow.
Now she's going to be in jail. Or maybe not, who knows?
Right.
The way this thing goes. But you had a 92-year-old mother that was driven to the point where it was something as simple as, Ma, you need help that I can't provide. I got a job and got to be places. Why don't we find the best place and put you? I'm not saying I know the whole situation. It could have been some other things going on. But to murder your own son because he wanted to put you somewhere that you at least could get the help and assistance you probably obviously need at that age, 92. So you're seeing these brothers betraying brothers to death and fathers and sons. That's not absconding mothers and sons and mothers and children from this type of murder. And also, we can mention that in Deuteronomy, when you have that evil eye. Brother against brother to death. And it's like, it's again, just like when Christ was put on the cross, his own people decided that. We sit and we blame Romans because they followed through with what the people wanted, but they even gave them a chance to choose. Who did they choose? They chose the brother that was exposing their wickedness and saying, live right. They say, I'd rather hear smooth things. Take that one. We take the murderer. So sometimes it will be the brother, and sometimes it will be those in your own house. So when it says the enemies in your own household, they're not just talking about, some folks' households aren't going to have a mother and father at odds or children. Some families are going to be okay. But that household, mentioned many times in the scripture, is the household of Israel. The household of Israel. So those in your own household, yeah, your own brothers, your own sisters could be ones. The ones that betray you. Just like Christ. Happening. It happens. So brother against brother to death, and father and son, and what else? In 12, yep.
And children shall rise up against their parents.
They were starting this one early. Because I remember back in the day in the 90s growing up when I started hearing the first newscasts about parents or children divorcing their parents. And they made this big old joke about it, but that was just the beginning of the rebellion of placing youth in charge of the elders. And the kid, I don't know how young the kid was, but it was strange. But they started that early, that thought process. And it's usually, again, they start with these landmark things, and they'll stamp it or approve when they say, all right, from now on, you guys don't got to listen to parents. Real talk. You take your child, and some of you, I don't have older children yet, but you take your child to the doctors now, right? Say if you got a teenager, especially girls. Take them to the doctor. The doctor, at some point, will even ask you to leave the room. And I've schooled my own on this because I knew it was going to happen. They will ask you to leave the room and proceed to grill your child about their lifestyle, but also what's going on in your own house. And they'll say things like, are you sexually active? Or do you use marijuana? Or if you are pregnant, we can keep this a secret between you and us. And by law, which was assigned secretly, because I don't remember that law passing, by law, especially in this state, they're able to give services to minors without parent approval. So now they're even encouraging you to not honor your father and mother, which is what? Against the commandment. So now there's children rising against parents because the power of the world is starting to give it to them. And they're going to feel like, well, I don't have to listen to my parent. And be honest with you, they feel like they got a legal right over you. Because every time one of us is born and that birth certificate is signed, now you have a legal entity, which is your child. And they feel like they own that. No different than marriage. When a certificate is signed, two entities come together. They feel like they have a charge in that too. So they're using the law, and we'll have, and it's a scriptures coming, they use the law to justify some of these means, but they are encouraging these children rising against their parents. Oh. Oh yeah, CPS, good old Child Protective Services, which, I'm pretty sure was created just for us. I've seen a lot of other nations be able to have children under terrible circumstances and don't get involved, but they'll take our children away in a second.
Most definitely.
But children rising against their parents, that's one. And what else would they do because of this? What these children rising, what is going to happen?
And shall cause them to be put to death.
They're going to be putting parents to death. Our parents are old school. They don't understand. The world is different now. And they'll feed that in all the schools and all the things they've been having out here and say, you know what, you're right. If you see something, say something. We can give your mom and dad the help they need. And that's the same help that Nimrod was going to give to Abraham. God. Won't see him again. And I'm just seeing these days and times and these trials of the prophets and saints. I'm seeing children murdering their parents when they get their iPhone taken away. That's what we are. You take a cell phone away from a child that lived on a cell phone because you don't want to pay attention to them and you want to not be a parent and allow them to learn online. You take that away. Guess who is their parent now? That phone. You took that away, that's all they know. I've seen it many times. Daughters killing fathers. Sons killing mothers. But those are those stories, they'll get brushed under the rug. They won't go on they'll go on like a news site somewhere, and before you know it, you won't hear from it again. But let a lady sit on the feet of the Statue of Liberty, for black lives that never mattered. Because we shouldn't be still asking for equality in 2018. That's where we are now, with this wicked, wicked place. So, shall we cause them to put to death? Yep. What else?
Verse 13. And ye shall be hated of all men.
Some men?
All.
All men. For whose name's sake?
Christ's name's sake.
For my name's sake. Christ's name's sake. But what?
But he that shall endure to the end.
But he that shall endure to the end, not getting baptized in church and saying I'm saved. But he that shall endure till the end. All the things we listed above, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, pestilence, what the world has been trying to tell you on the low, surviving. And what we're trying to tell you here, surviving spiritually, because again, that's what garners everything else. Without the spiritual, with the Most High in Christ and the Holy Spirit, there is no existing in the flesh. Enduring all those things, ye shall what? The same shall be what?
Saved.
The same shall be saved. Let's go to Revelations 2:8. Yeshua is warning about these last days, family. We're seeing a lot of it right now. And you know why I know? It's kind of like, not me per se, but you can see how things are kind of rubbing because we're starting to become more and more distracted. There's more and more things being placed in front of us so we cannot pay attention to what's really going on. You'll get, if you got a weakness against a brother or sister, as far as like anger, that situation's going to come. If you don't like your job and that's your focus, it's going to get worse and worse. But you're not going to get fired. They're going to keep you there. They're going to keep you there because they need to hold your focus away from the light. So all those things are starting to play in now. Whatever the weakness is, they have found a way to hold you. I was thinking about moths to a flame. You put a light outside the house and you see moths just go to it and they can't ignore it. They can't. But that light is what? That light is not to just attract them so they can be warm. It's to kill them. That death is coming. If they go close enough to that distraction. The whole while, there's a whole forest out there they could be in. They're worried about that light that was ready to murder them. So we are now at this time where distractions have to be limited. Yes, they're going to be trials. Those trials are going to be the distractions, really. The internal distractions, you're going to have those too. Now it's time to get stronger. We've been here too many times. We've seen this too many times. We're on, again, our ancestors, we're on our ancestors' shoulders at this point. That weight's here. They've seen this too many times for us to fall for this same old thing again. Let's go to Revelations 2:8.
The book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 8. And unto the angel of the church in Smyrna write, these things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive.
Yep. So these things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. Now he's going to speak to what? His people. What does he say?
I know thy works.
He says, I know thy works. I know the good things you've done. I know the bad things you've done. Right? What else?
And thy tribulation.
And the troubles and tribulations that you go through. I know what you struggle with. Just because life on the outside of your body is fine, I'm looking here deep inside. I know the struggle. Just like with Elijah and that angel. The Most High knew the struggle that Elijah was going through and where he was at his wit's end and say, you know what, we need to send someone on behalf to give him nourishment because he's not going to feed himself. He wants to go. So let's give him that extra push. So I said, I know thy works in tribulation and what else?
And poverty.
And poverty. It could be poverty in the world, but it could also be poverty in strength and weakness. He knows you at your wit's end on some things. But he's saying what? Thou art what?
But thou art rich.
But thou art rich. It's an inheritance. There's an end to this race. There's a finish line. Nobody's living 1,000 years right now. Right? People passing at 100. 90, 80, 70, 60, 40, you know, all the way down to, you know, birth. People are passing. But he knows that. You're rich. He knows what's to come. There's a line. There's a finish line for this. This is not forever. And I think we get caught up in this never going to end. It will. Use that time wisely, though. Can't take grace for granted. There's only so much time to do this. So while you're doing it, do it well. Make sure that your lows are small, and your highs are great. Because you're going to have some lows, but that's nothing but grounding. That's just to say, you know what, I care about you, and I want to make sure that I can try you, and you still be strong. He wants to see what you're going to be in the end. He sees what you're going to be, but he wants to prove it to you, and he wants to prove it to those who don't believe that you will, i.e. the adversary, because he don't know the end. He may know who's in the book of life, and that's probably why he tries them. Oh, he's in the book of life. I'm going to have to do something about that, because those who aren't in the book of life, don't have to worry about them. They're already dead. So you seeing things when Christ says, let the dead bury the dead? You think he's talking about that they were not breathing when they were walking to a funeral? No. You saw those brothers and sisters were already had direction. Right? Keep going.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
He says he knows the blasphemy that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. One thing about this walk is when you first find out who you are as a people, the next reaction is to be angry at those who say they are the people. But then what happens is you don't progress. You'll be stuck in saying, those people are in the way, and they're the problem. But the whole time the Most High is saying, I need you to be focused on me. And if you care about that more than you care about me, then you're the problem. Not them. He said, I'm going to give you over to a foolish nation. What he's saying what? He made the nation to be foolish so they could have you. They didn't get none of this on their own. This is by design to provoke you to jealousy so you can return back to him. Not to be jealous of them, because then that goes against what the commandment of what? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thy neighbor's wife, manservants, all these things that they have, the riches of the world. Don't covet. So if you're still angry at what you call the white man, you need to examine yourself. You still have that anger about what other nations have done to you? World? Still playing the same old, get you upset by watching every little video of something that happens to us? You need to examine yourself. This trial of the prophets and saints is about you, not them. But they're just showing you how much work you still have to do. Keep going.
Verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation for 10 days.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Just a little bit.
Sounds familiar. If you're part of the family, you got to go through the family's contract of things that are going to happen. You're going to go, some of us, into prison. And some of us are going to have that tribulation 10 days. But be what?
Faithful.
Be thou faithful unto what?
Death.
Unto death. Some of the brothers, or all of the brothers you saw in these scriptures, they were faithful to death. You had Stephen doing the work until what? He was martyred. But he kept going. So in this walk, you end up not fearing death at all. Because it says the last thing that will be defeated is what? Death. The last enemy. Once you don't fear that, then what does he have to hold over you anymore? What do you think this whole design of the world is? To make you fear death. That's what the whole design of this world's been. To make you fear death. That's why the news even exists. To make you fear what could come. And that you could die from it. They'll put new diseases online, and say, hey, this is the new disease. You got to get vaccinated for it. You don't want to die. Or, hey, we can give you plastic surgery to look, 30 years younger. Because you won't be reminded of your aging, that you could be moving closer to what? Death. Earth is vain. This place is vain. They're trying to release that, release the DNA to figure that it can live forever. They're trying that now, if they haven't already got it. Because they don't want to have to move on. If they feel like they can stay here forever, they don't have to go to judgment. Yeah. They could just stay here. That's their thought process. Judgment won't come as long as I'm still here. I can just live here forever. But it don't work like that, unfortunately for them. But they've driven themselves to madness. All right, so tribulation 10 days, and be thou faithful unto death, but what? And I will
give thee a crown of life.
All right.
Verse 11. Mm-hmm. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. So these gatherings we have out here, let the Spirit flow. You know what it's saying? We're all one mind, one body, one baptism here. We hear it. Some of us kicking and screaming, but we hear it. Let the Spirit move here. Keep going.
He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death.
When you endure to the end, you won't be cast into the eternal fire and not exist. And for some of those who are new, who've never read that, there's literature that talks about that second death, where everything that you were is not in remembrance to anyone. And worse yet, even the Father doesn't know who you are. You never existed. That's ultimate hell, to be apart from the Creator forever. And it's like you never were. So we have, just like Abraham and all the others we had, they were unwavering in a lot of their things, and we're going to struggle with that, because again, we're getting pushed with the fights and the issues of all of the things that have happened since the beginning till now. So you're not weak by no means. The attempts are harder. By no means you're weak. When you have doubts, you're just being tried to be stronger than the generation before us. We are the first generation in this land really to start this. Figuring out what we are, figuring out how we got here, trying to even have a real solution to this. Because many have came before us in the 60s, in the 40s, in the 20s, and they had these small movements and say, maybe we need to get our own things. Right mindset. But a lot of them are not rooted in Christ. And because of that, they fell. So you have these situations that happen over and over again of getting these things right. How are we supposed to correct this issue amongst our people? This sickness of our people. And everyone has failed because what? It becomes they're trying to do for themselves, but Christ is not anywhere in there. They're trying to do it the way that the people who took them, and do it their way. Most High says you're a peculiar people. That means different, set apart. You're holy people. That means you're apart, peculiar and holy. You're not with them. That's not you. Never has, never will be. Since the beginning, you are going to be one people in a certain way, and that's it. And you have to follow the instructions to the T. Let's go to Hebrews 11:1.
You know, it's funny something you mentioned. I was thinking about how the Father will end up forgetting, the creation in hell. And I think it's that movie Coco. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's a little cartoon movie, but they pretty interesting. I got kids. Anyway, long story short, part of that movie, not to give it away, but just a part of it anyway. It's interesting how the Jewish powers, we already know they own all the movies and all that stuff, right? But since they deal in the Kabbalah and the Talmuds and stuff like that, we know they got to give us a warning. They got to tell us, right? So part of the warning that they're actually giving us is what Mashah just said, how you'll end up being forgotten. The warning was given us even to kids and adults in the movie Coco. A part of the Cinco de Mayo, the Day of the Dead, a part of the ritual, they keep the picture up and all of that good stuff of the person that's passed on. But if you don't have their picture up and their remembrance of them, what's going to happen? They're going to be forgotten. So they're always pushing it to us in some sort of manner because they have to tell us the truth to continue to doing the evil that they continue to do. So that's just a thought, random thought came to me.
Just saying, basically that way, just saying you're compliant.
Right.
We gave you the truth here. You don't want to take it. We're allowed to keep persecuting you.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly.
Don't want to follow the Father? Okay. We're allowed to do exactly what the Father said we could do to you. All these things. So, Hebrews 11. How do the trial of these prophets? How do they make it through these things?
All right, Hebrews 11, chapter 11, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm having a flashback. This is in the Christian church. This is one of the like most favorite scriptures ever, like in life. Like This is it right here. Everything is on this one scripture. Everything. I'm sorry. All right, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Yeah, buddy. Verse 2. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do already appear. Verse 4, by faith Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, the Most High testifying of his gifts. And by it he, being dead, yet speaketh.
So now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And by those things, the elders received a good report. Those things that they knew were far off, these prophecies that were placed in front of us and know that would happen, that's what kept them going. Because throughout your life, you'll see confirmations that these things are true. And that's probably where you get weak, when you don't, with our eyes, we don't see this working. But a year ago, 2 years ago, a month ago, we saw something that said, you know what? I'm renewed because of it. And these elders here, our ancestors, were obtaining that good report, and that they understood how everything was designed. They understand the worlds were framed by Christ, the word of the Most High.
Word of God.
They were understanding of that. And that even that, with faith, with Abel providing a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. Because if you know the story in Jasher, it says that he gave of the best of the sheep. Right? And Cain, of the best of the sheep, but Cain gave the worst of the fruit. He gave the Most High whatever. And this is supposed to have been the first offering. The first offering that's taking place from man's hands. And out of his heart, he was like, I'm going to give you whatever. And I'm pretty sure there was some good fruit around that he probably took for himself. Or somebody gave it to somebody else, but it wasn't for the Most High to have. But Abel said, you know what? It's the Most High. He gave me life. I wouldn't have my mom and dad, Adam and Eve, without them. He deserves everything. This is his work. This is his place, not mine. I'm just tilling the ground.
He was following the commandments. Love the Lord your God with
all your heart,
mind, soul, and strength.
Even back then. But Cain didn't have that in his heart. Therefore, his sacrifice wasn't accepted. So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 2, 11 through 22.
Well, they're getting it over there.
And actually, you can start at verse 1, man.
Yes, sir.
It's a good chapter.
Yeah. All right, the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 1.
These are some persecutions that happen to righteous men and sisters. Anyone of righteousness. It's just a thought process of how those who don't live in that way think about us. All right, let's go.
For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright.
So the ungodly said reasoning within themselves, but it's their own thought processes. It's not using the Most High at all. It's what they feel, but not aright. Because the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. It's what?
Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
That's already slighting Christ's return. Wisdom of Solomon 2?
Oh, no, we started at verse 1.
Starting at verse 1. We're not at 11.
Starting at verse 1. Yeah, not 11. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I said that under my breath. Starting at verse 1. Yeah. I changed things a lot in lessons.
See, family,
on the fly.
I gotta be quick to listen. See?
don't let no man deceive you.
All right, you want to y'all want to run that back? You ready? All right. For the ungodly saith, reasoning with themselves, but not aright. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
All right, keep going.
Verse 2, for we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart.
So they're saying life is short. In summary, right now, this is what the ungodly saying themselves. I have to live fast because life is short. Keep going.
Verse 3, which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air.
There's no other life after this. Once we're done here, that's it, says the ungodly. Keep going.
Verse 4, and our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Verse 6, come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present.
Let's live life good and fast right now.
YOLO.
Exactly. You only live once.
That's what it is. Yeah.
This is where they got that whole word from.
God.
Because they feel there's nothing else after this. That Christ never rose from the dead. And that this is just all it's going to be. So right now, you got to live life to its fullest in the flesh. What else?
And let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass us by. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion.
They said, let us use these creatures like as in our youth. No, you know, as a little boy or whatever, or a little girl, sometimes, especially the boys, we would play with like bugs and put them in like containers and see what they can do. You just, being gross like a little boy. And, girls who play with dolls and have all, fun with them and make like little houses and all those things. But you have grown men and women who, when they have that mindset of like a child and they move it up to an adult when they have money and power, that they start to use people like creatures in their youth. You're nothing but consumers to some folks. You're just a number. And with that, they say, all right, so let's just make them do what we want. If we throw a sale here on Saturday, they're going to break the commandments and come get that sale because it's one day only, right? Or if we have one of our people that we put out there to be famous wear this particular outfit, like, tight pants on men,
Yeah.
right?
What do they call
If he's famous enough, they'll see it and want to be like him. And then what we'll do is we'll build it and make sure that all of our money is funneled into these tight pants. And when they buy them, we'll become rich. And we're just seeing them run into these stores and, hey, next week Michael Jordan's new shoes are coming out. That's you stand in line because we'll like not make a lot of them because it'll make them want them more. They're just abusing of power. and just letting you run back and forth and just watching you from afar.
Watch you on camera on Black Friday.
There's places people that profess to say they're Jews that run a lot of the businesses that'll be open on Saturday, and that's when they have their sales. But then the commandments themselves say anybody who's under you, even people who shop at your stores, they shouldn't be breaking the Sabbath. But you're making money from it? How is that not wicked? So you have them using creatures like, and they see you as nothing but toys. Your playthings.
What do the Jews call people? The Gentiles. We're so and so. And what's
Goyim.
Goyim? What's that?
Cattle.
Cattle, exactly.
To be what? Milked,
Used,
fed,
whatever.
and slaughtered.
Right, slaughtered.
That's what a cattle is.
Bring it out.
And then you sit here, and I know a lot of us go through this mindset when we're driving to work and we see the rush that folks go through on a daily basis. You're just sitting in traffic, and you know, you live at a reasonable time, so you're like, I don't have to rush to work. And these people cutting you off, giving you the finger, yelling at you, trying to get in accidents. I've seen cars flipped over in the morning. Folks rushing to work.
The almighty rat race.
And if you're looking from the top, you're like, you own the business or whatever. You own the structure, the infrastructure. You're saying, it's nothing but cattle, just ants. They're like ants in the ant farm, running wherever we need them to go. Got to chase that dollar. They're doing the same thing. And none of them have the Most High in their hearts for it. Because the God of this world is what gave them that. So they're not going to be thinking about the Most High in any of this. That's why they can have a religion, but then have a business that doesn't follow that religion at all. Just the front. So, using creatures like in their youth and fill themselves with costly wines. And what else? It says, let us leave tokens of joyfulness in our place. I mean, you go to a hospital and you see how many buildings with somebody's names on it. Like, this has been donated by this person. Or this famous person, he needs a statue for this thing. They leave tokens of themselves in all places, all the time. Because that's their life and that's what they want to be remembered by. Because they said right here, we're going to be forgotten if we don't have these tokens out here. So we'll give them idols to worship. What else?
Verse 9. For this is our portion, and our lot is this. Verse 10. Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged.
So let us oppress the poor righteous man. Because Christ was righteous and poor. But a lot of our people who try to live like Christ don't have much. Don't have much. And a lot of us, even if we have much in the world, we still live in check to check. So we are one check away from poverty. Don't let it fool you. So even with that, let's support the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. They know we the people. And in a sense, our people are the ancient gray hairs. This is also respecting the elders. It's saying like the elderly, they're disrespected as well. But you also have, Israel not going to be respected as leaders of the world at all. So they're saying it right here. Keep going.
Verse 11. Let our strength be the law of justice.
Let our what?
Strength.
Let our strength, the ungodly, let their strength be in the law of justice.
Brother.
And remember, we're talking about as ungodly, so they're not talking about the law of the Most High. They're talking about the laws of the land and the continuous creation of laws for specific sects of people. We're the only ones in this place that actually have laws built just for us. All the things that have been brought out in the past, lots of laws brought out just for us. I just seen, what was it? And I think D.C. might have it. What was the law? There was a law in D.C. or coming. They're putting it out there, and I know some of you guys already heard about it, to prevent loud music, right? And knowing D.C. and how it's structured, there's been a lot of difference in the kinds of people that are in here. So if you have a predominantly one kind of person here, but then you have a different type of people move in, then all of a sudden these new laws, when, D.C.'s been around for a pretty long time, all of a sudden this new law pops in out of nowhere. So what you have, while there's no disagreement that, look, some people want to live in areas where you don't have loud music. But who's the one playing loud music?
Brother, Chocolate City ain't that chocolate no more.
There it is. And that's happening not just, only did it for this one because it's local, but there's every city doing the same things at the same time. In my own city, there's the same thing happening. That they're building, and also, if you caught with loud music, you can do 10 days in jail.
Oh.
Did you hear me?
Oh.
If you're caught doing loud music, you get how many days? 10 days.
Oh, that's a random number, right?
Oh yeah, it's just random.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the word.
No, not at all.
At all.
Nah, no prophecy.
Not 9 days, not 11 days.
Not even 7, 10.
Because, I mean, a week is 7 days, so you think, hey, maybe 7 days.
Yeah,
Yeah, a week is good, but 10, so you give them a week and a half,
So
not 2 weeks.
You get out in the middle of the week, you can't even work a whole full
That's
week.
fine. Nah,
It's just all just
10 days, that's a good round number. 10 days, that's enough time for you to lose your job, exactly.
That's a good point. Just enough.
Yep. That's a lot of time for a lot of things to fall. Like, oh, you're not around for your kids, there's enough time for the TPS to come for those children. Time for your rent to lapse. Oh, yeah, we're going to take you on the on the 25th. Rent due on the 1st. You'll get out on the 7th. Right. But your stuff be on the street already, so good luck.
And it'll probably go on your
10 days. 10 days for loud music. Interesting. They would use that number.
What's that?
And it's subject to interpretation.
Wow. Gotta love it.
So just be aware that none of this is happening outside the scriptures. While we think it's not anything to do with the scriptures, purposefully, we went into Abraham, saw Jasher, 10 days. You know, we saw it in Mark, 10 days. And I just gave you a real world example of 10 days. Trials and tribulations of the prophets and saints. Keep going.
One of y'all should do a lesson on that. The strength be the law of justice. Because, I mean, it's so prevalent in so many, all throughout Jasher, when Sodom and Gomorrah. The whole structure of Sodom and Gomorrah was based off what's social injustice and inequality. Yep. There's so many ways to tie that in. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that'd be a fun one.
So let our strength be in the law of their justice.
That's a good
For
word.
that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. So the weak of us, the poor of us, as you have not noticed so far, that all of your menial jobs are small ones, are now starting to be robots. You have cashiers becoming self-checkout lanes. And everybody's job, no matter if you work in, as a nurse or you work as a doctor or whatever, robots are starting to take a place there. All at the same time in all these different jobs all over the place. You work at FedEx, you might now you work at Amazon. You're no longer people grabbing stuff off the shelves. Right. You got a robot throwing the thing out into the little thing, a little robot that's sitting at the bottom and is zipping throughout the whole place and then just loading the stuff up.
Even in the corporate world, man, I mean, if you're like an accountant, you got QuickBooks. Yep. You got TurboTax for if you're a tax person.
I said many times, I'm building my replacement. I know I'm building it right now.
Yeah. Even for physical jobs that's like not as monotonous as like a warehouse. I was looking up this video the other day, and it went through the very thing you're talking about. Even construction workers. There's so many things that you can, if you're not at a high position as like electrician, plumber, whatever, man, they got so many different devices and things that can do what people had to do. That was like the one thing you'd be like, oh yeah, well, I'm a tradesman, I'll be good. Nah, you subject to get it too.
Nope, because
everybody.
Because the problem with you is that it says, the feeble is found to be nothing worth. You get sick, you get tired, you start to not like your job, you complain, you slow down.
Robots don't do none of that.
But robots cost the same price as your salary.
For 1 year.
For 1 year.
For 1 year, that's an investment.
For 1 year. So if you're getting $35,000 a year, they got a $35,000 robot that's not going to call out sick. That's not going to have an attitude when it tells you to do something. It's not going to get sleepy. Can work 24/7 if they want it. And all they need to do is hire a maintenance man to maintain the robot. That's it. They might end up programming a robot to fix the robot. Who can fix the robot? Who can fix the robot?
Yo, and you know what's another crazy element? I mean, even if people think like, oh, that's not possible.
Nah.
I mean, if there are drones that can be operated from America in Iraq,
Yep.
you think they can't put eyes on a robot to see what you would see?
Yep.
Is it not possible?
Well, I remember the latest story on that, and just not to get off subject, they got robots that can now build other robots, so they're basically giving birth to each other.
Nice.
They're building everything they need. They don't need us anymore. We built this country, right? But we are the feeble. We're still at the bottom. We're still the poorest. We're still the most separated and messed up. So right now they say, all right, that's weakness. They can't assimilate to society. Let's get rid of them. And that's where your trials of the prophets and saints come. For that which is feeble is found nothing worth. What else?
Verse 12. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean, contrary to our doings.
When this talks about Satan is like a roaring lion looking for whom he could devour. When a lion is hunting, he goes right in the grass and waits for the proper time to spring. Because they don't want to run a long time. They're not cheaters. They want to sit just close enough for some animal that's just not paying attention, distractions, and it can spring, run a short distance, and take you. So you're dealing with predators here. Therefore, let us lie and wait for the righteous. The fact that they see you as cattle and just somebody who can be thrown away according to the scriptures, they know they can design something to bring you to them. If you've seen all those scientists back in the day, they used to, have fun making those mazes with rats in it, and they would have a little piece of cheese in the end, and just watch the rat go to the cheese, and it's bringing the rat right to the cheese. And they know where it's going to end up because it wants the cheese, money. It wants the cheese, house. It wants the cheese, lust. It wants the cheese, covetousness. It wants the cheese.
The power of cheese.
And this is nothing. They're just not just wicked. They're just the fact that they are living without the Most High. And they've been able to get as many things as they can get without his help, apparently. And so therefore, they don't necessarily need him. There's no Christ, because Christ ain't helping me pay these bills. Right? Thought processes. Reason within themselves, but not a right. What else?
Middle of verse 12. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objective to our infamy the transgressings of our education.
The children.
Lord have mercy.
This is going deep, and you just got to read this thing. It's basically saying that the children of the righteous people won't do good in education. They won't follow suit. No matter how many times we try to get them to be like us, they just can't get it right. So other nations can come from afar, come in, be doctors, lawyers, have the houses, do everything that this education is done. But we've been here the entire time and cannot benefit. We can't benefit. We're not part of this education. And our children and our people, we're just not built for what they created. All right, keep going.
Verse 13. He professeth to have the knowledge of the Most High, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts.
He was made to reprove our thoughts. So while you see folks out here, they sitting out here calling police on folks, they're seeing the image of what? Christ. Even if those people may not be aware of who they are, the spirits within them see exactly what you were. And because of that, you are created. You are an example, a continuous reminder of the laws of the Most High. By simply existing. Just by simply existing and breathing. Because there's a chance, and they've seen it too many times, that Saul can become Paul. So just because this brother is in the streets and being loose with women, or this sister's in a club every night with every man she can, doesn't mean she can't become Mary, or David. And that right there, they know that any one of you could become, like they said what happened when they had started murdering some of our people in Malcolm X. We don't need no black Jesus. We don't need another savior. They don't need another Messiah. That's their fear. So right what the word says, you were made. You are a continuous reminder to them. So no matter how, again, and some of the rich folks out here, they starting to kind of get it. No matter what I do, I'm not going to be accepted. They might still be in the pocket, but you got some others, rich folks out there that finally realize that, why am I playing in football anymore? You got these kids starting to retire, like they'll get, they go into the league and they're retired 3-4 years in when they become vested. You say, I'm done, I'm going to hang it up. But they starting to see, look, we being chastised for just kneeling. Right. When it had nothing to do with the reason they said we're kneeling. Right. And they see it's off. Even if they may not be touching the Bible anyway, they see something's wrong. That no matter what you do, you're going to be made to reprove their thoughts. You standing up, if one stands up, they all can stand up. There was one man that did it before, and he caused a whole belief. He corrected a whole people. Just one. That's their fear. The reproof of your thoughts. And I'm not talking about a particular race. Don't get it twisted. It's not a particular race or anything. This is the ungodly. I'm talking about our own people could be this. So when you're trying to have these conversations with your mom, dads, or whatever, and they're just not listening, and they get nasty attitudes with you for no reason, and you're just not even trying to necessarily share the word, but just be Christ-like to them. That's enough. I don't need to be reminded of my faults. That's how they'll feel. In their spirit, they'll feel like that. Outwardly, they might be nice or attempt to be nice. But they don't want you around for long. You shine a light on that darkness. What else? What 15 say?
Verse 15. He is grievous unto us even to behold.
I can't even stand them. Just to see them is an issue. Why are you in this pool? Why are they here? If you don't like us, country, why don't you leave? How many clues do we need? They tell you right in front of your face.
Get out.
Get out. Right? There's a movie about that, right?
I'm just saying.
Just saying. He was grievous for us. This brother or sister, whoever they talk, right, didn't even have to say a word. That was the problem, that he was just there. He is grievous for us to behold. What else?
For his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. Verse 16. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits.
As what?
Counterfeits.
You're fakes. Esteemed of us as fakes. Hypocrites. When we see them, we see our problems. They are. He what? What else?
He abstained from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounced the dead of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that the Most High is his Father.
Okay.
Verse 17. Let us see if his words be true.
Those trials. Let me test them. You for the Most High for real? All right. Let's see if your words be true. I see what you're saying with your lips. Satan's in there, right there. Let's tempt. Let's see where he can go. Because he's saying one thing, but you know what? They all got a price. When they see you as what? Cattle. What else?
Middle of verse 17. Let us prove what shall happen in the end of him.
Let's see, because you can start a race running full speed, sprinting. I'm going to win this race. But towards the end, you've been beat up so much and haven't gotten any water that you're sluggish. You're starting to hurt. You're starting to breathe too heavy. The finish line's about 100 meters off. You ran 500 meters. You got to go 6 or 7. You just got 200 more meters to go. But now you're starting to get weak. And And they don't really necessarily care how you start. They care about how you finish. That's what the Most High cares about. He doesn't care about your beginnings. He don't care about what you came from. How you going to end this? What are you going to be in the end? Are you going to be gold? Or are you going to be chaff? That's the question. And that's what that's the dare for them. Let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. Because, I see him sitting up there in front of the church now. Let me punch him some more and see what happens in the end. Keep going.
Verse 18. For if the just man be the son of the Most High, he will help him and deliver him from the hands of his enemies. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience.
We just read about that earlier. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness. How meek is he? How much can he maintain a meekness? And how patient is he? They're doing that completely out of despitefulness, completely out of despitefulness. And they know it's torture. What else?
Verse 20. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected.
Let us condemn him with a shameful death. Getting shot up in the streets is going to be deemed a respectful act. Yeah, the brother got murdered, but he was a G. So by that, we're going to continue to live in his memory because he was living a wicked lifestyle. Got taken by his own brother, but we'll put tattoos on ourselves about it. Or 1 year ago today, this brother was murdered. Let's play his music all day. What else?
21. Such things they did imagine and were deceived, for their own wickedness have blinded them. As for the mysteries of the Most High, they knew them not.
For the mysteries of the Most High, these ungodly people knew them not. Now, if you circle to this time frame, that all the things they done built up, the ungodly, have built up, they still have one thing that they're missing is the mysteries of the Most High. Circle to early 90s and 2000s when the invention of the internet, that they know time frames, that when certain things are happening, like we read in Mark earlier today, those saints are going to start being revealed. How do we find out who they are? Entering the internet or the web. You have a spider trying to trap flies. They have a web. And as we sit out here and we post on the internet, the truth, marked. We know who's awake.
Oh, your last name is Yasharala? Oh, okay.
We get it.
Thank you.
So how we break out the signs of the times? Oh, all right, let's go on YouTube and plug in Elder Ricard's lesson from this Gathering of Christ church place and see what they've been talking about.
Cast your pearls before swine.
The mysteries of the Most High, they knew them not. And they knew the oracles of the Most High come through the Most High's people. Therefore, you have to lay in wait for his people so they can find out the mysteries and try to figure this out before you.
Let me ask you a question. Something I thought about a while back. Correct me if I'm wrong. About what year you think we started putting out, going into the book of Enoch and digging into it? How long ago was that? Yeah. Nah. GOCC. Because as far as I know, wasn't nobody, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't too many anybody's really dealing with Enoch
it was
and
mostly
putting it out there.
It was mostly Gentiles at the time.
Okay.
Gentiles.
Okay.
Gentiles were reading it heavy.
Yeah. And it's interesting, though, that all of a sudden, Enoch's all over the internet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, heavy. Like, people are really, like, flipping the script.
They go to that book first, but they go to the Bible.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Just a thought. Something to think about.
Yep, these mysteries, they're looking for them. Again, it's like the same mysteries that I mentioned in Daniel being uncovered.
You follow me. Thank you.
All they're doing is been watching.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're ungodly, but they're not dumb either. They know what they got to do to find out what they need to know. So for the mysteries of the Most High, they knew them not. But what else? You good? 22.
Neither hope they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls.
Let's go to St. John 17 and 5. So again, that whole passage is just the ungodly and how they are putting trials on these prophets and on these saints in the last days. And throughout the scriptures, they've been doing the same thing, nothing new. Nothing new under the sun. They've been doing this over and over again. When they follow Satan, this plan of attack has been the same way for them all. But you see ourselves all throughout Wisdom of Solomon too. Left and right you see us. And you see what this torment has come from. Because we are looked at as the people of the Most High. Even if we don't know it, even if we don't accept it, doesn't matter. They don't care about that. They just know they've seen a lot of brothers go from dust and become leaders. Go from being trapped to become leaders. They know that. So as far as they're concerned, everybody's a prime target. Not just some of you. St. John 17 and 5.
Gone over there? All right. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they are, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever thou have given me are of thee. Verse 8. For I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from thee. And they have believed that thou didst send me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world.
I pray for what?
Them.
I pray for these believers. I pray for those who accepted the word of Christ. I pray not for the world, which it sounds like it goes against John 3:16.
Well, of course it does.
Because if that's the case, you won't have Egyptians being destroyed, or Grecians being destroyed, or this place, or Babylon, or any other place that went against the Most High's people being destroyed, if he loved the whole world. He said he's praying for his own sheep, not by blood, but by hearing and believing, including those of the circumcision. He's praying for them. It's not for everybody. All right, keep going.
But for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. Verse 10. And all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. Verse 11. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee. Heavenly Father, keep through thine own name those who thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. So
Christ manifested the Father's names to those who were worthy of it, and others he simply rejected. So let's go to Revelations 1 and 7. Again, understanding the trials and tribulations that will come, knowing those things that are on the horizon, you hear the call. You hear the change, like we said earlier. There's a difference in the air. If you heard the call, don't ignore it. Stay strong. The end isn't as far as we thought.
All right, see the comma there? All right. Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they which also pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. Verse 8. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is and was and which is to come, the Almighty. Verse 9. I, John,
So John the Revelator, I, John, all right, keep going.
who also am your brother and companion in tribulation.
And your companion in tribulation, he understands as he's writing, look, we're all going through this together, be it you live when I'm living now or to the end. We are still brothers and a companion in tribulation. Keep going.
He was on the verge of death on the Isle of Patmos.
On the Isle of Patmos. Yep.
Okay. For doing the work.
For doing the work.
Companion in tribulation and in the kingdom and patience of Yeshua HaMashiach was in the isle that is called Patmos for the word of the Most High and for the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach.
So now we're going to start getting into some of the saints and some of the prophets who have went through, disciples who have went through these tribulations, and just let you know that, look, you're going to go through these things just like they did. And maybe even worse. They understand that. But they're telling you, look, we were at wit's end too. You had John on Patmos. He was left to die. Left to die there. It was like every man for himself there. Pretty sure it was like they didn't have people like necessarily guarding everything. Just like you're on an island, you're not getting off. The seas are perilous, I'm sure. You know, it's probably snakes and all types of things in there. Bro, you're not here to live. You're here to waste away. So in that time, he still had faith. All right, let's go to Hebrews 12. A lot of our brothers went through these things, and this is what we hold fast to. When you know your family went through it, then what's bigger than you say, oh, my ancestors? My ancestors went through this. Christ went through this. Paul went through this. Why can't I go through this? I don't understand why I'm going through this, but I'm able to continue on because they were also able to continue on. And the Most High is dependent on me. Do I want to let him down? All right, keep going to 12. I'm sorry, Hebrews 12 and 1.
Let's get a conway there. All right. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses.
So wherefore, seeing we are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, a greater cloud of the creation. The creation is witnessing now. Creation is looking and seeing how we are handling things. So we're compassed about, we're surrounded. We're not just creation. I'm talking about the angels, everything that was created by the Most High in Christ. All compassed about, and they are a witness to this. These days and times, and we look at it like it's not important. We're not as important because this is written before. But what do you think they're looking to? These brothers and sisters are gone, but not gone in that sense. They're in creation still. Do you not know that they can bear witness to things? We're still in this. You know, brother, when you go up there, the fact that you're in the kingdom and they know who you are, to that effect, and they know you're in the book of life and all those things, because what? They were obviously talking about you. Everybody knows who you are if you following the word. And you're following this your whole heart and mind and spirit. Your name is no different than some of these names here. All right, keep going.
Middle of verse 1. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
Key, let us run with patience, not haste. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Nobody necessarily knows how long they have to run. That's where patience comes in. Whenever he says it's time, that's going to be time, but you got to be okay with what he's okay with, not with what you want. So let us run with patience the race. This is for sure a race. We talk about that sprint and marathon. That's not off of vain words. We didn't make that up ourselves. This is a race. It's a race for your afterlife. Where you end up. Who are you going to be with? All right, keep going.
Verse 2. Looking unto Yeshua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross.
He did what?
Endured.
He endured the cross. What else?
Despising the shame. And is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High.
That patience in the race, Christ endured that. And he came in the flesh like we live today. He basically, by doing that, showed you can do this too. I had the same body you had with the same issues. I just didn't sin. But you have that ability as well. Keep going.
Verse 3. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your minds. Verse 4. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. Mm-hmm. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth.
He what?
Chasteneth.
For whom the Most High loveth, he chasteneth. Now, if you grew up in a household when your family would correct you when you did something wrong, but it was out of love, like you messed up, you need repercussions. I'm not talking about beatings per se. Just like, look, you did something in error. This is how you correct it. When those things come, take it with cheer. They're trying to make you better. I would know growing up, my dad would say, I'm just trying to make you a man and showing you what men should do. That's what I'm trying to do. And this is what the Most High is trying to do. This is how you belong. This is how you dwell with me. You want to be you want to be with me in the kingdom? This is what we got to do. And if you mess up, I'm not killing you. I'm just giving you a push and say, stop. Correct yourself before death comes. And when death comes, there's no change.
Thank the Most High we wasn't here before Christ. Or you might have got stoned to death.
Stoned. They're still doing that in Haiti. I saw that the other day. I mean, look, they not far removed. Tribal Levi still out there.
right.
A brother apparently was did something like molesting of children,
I heard about that,
and they found out, brought him to the streets and stoned him, just like in the old days.
It's in their blood, man. You can't run from that. You can't.
Yeah, we're not talking about. They're not throwing pebbles either.
Nah.
Cinder blocks at people's heads.
Rocks.
Still to this day, that's going on. So, like, yeah.
It's crazy. You can't run from that, man. Your tribe, man, if it's in you, it's in you. You might not be right all the time, but look at Judah. Judah always want to do what? Be the king. Want floss. Had a jewelry. Had a women's. You know how they do. Had a nice car with the rim. Look at Judah. He the king. You can't tell him nothing.
They're for sure kings. You can tell the king tribe because we the flossiest of the tribes.
I'm just saying. Like,
so, for sure. That kingly being, look, when you have Solomon talking about sprinkling gold in his hair, that kind of thing. Fresh to death.
Straight player. Oh, my God.
Fresh to death.
Oh, Lord. Right, with fresh in his mouth.
What nation would do that? What nation would put gold in their hair?
A peculiar people.
Peculiar people would. They strange for sure.
Man.
Definitely different. But yeah,
serious, man.
love him when he chasteneth, right? Because he do what? 6?
Middle of 6. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
If you're being chastised by the Most High, you're still viewed as a son. You don't want to be viewed as a bastard, and he doesn't care anymore. That's someone without a father. You don't want to be in that space. So as long as you're getting the whippings, accept them with cheer. You're still in it. Still in it. Verse 7.
If ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as sons.
If you endure this chastening, he dealeth with you as he will deal with his own sons. Means he loves you and still give you another shot to get corrected. Keep going. Praise the Most High.
For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?
For what father doesn't chasten the son he doesn't love? You want to see them succeed. You want to see your children do better than you. He wants to see you accelerate to where he is on this. So, For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? We're about to finish this out. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 11 and 18. Because Paul was fighting. We bring up him alive. We had a lesson on Paul and, the commandments, a blessed lesson that Deacon Shalimana did. Paul going through it. He went through it. You don't realize all that work he put in was because of the chastisement and trials that he had to go through as a leader. As a leader. Paul was going through it. And this is one of these examples where you see one of our brothers from the tribe of Benjamin showing you, look, you're not alone. Yeah, he's written in this book, but he was going through it just like we all did. So that those trials of the prophets and saints continue today with an example from Paul. 2 Corinthians 8, 11 and 18.
Let's get a comment. We're there? All right. Verse 18. Seeing that many glory after the flesh, I will glory also.
Seeing that many glory after the flesh, people who live in the flesh, Paul, right? Same issue. I glory in the flesh. Us as deacons, glory in the flesh. We're flesh and blood. It happens. Right? Keep going.
For ye suffer fools gladly, seeing ye yourselves are wise.
All right.
Verse 20. For ye suffer if a man bring you into bondage, if a man devour you, if a man take of you, if a man exalts himself, if a man smite you on the face.
So for ye suffer if a man bring you into bondage, if a man devour you, if a man take of you, if a man exalt himself, or if a man smite you on the face, you suffer. That's flesh, right? Things that you go through. All right, keep going.
21. I speak as concerning reproach, as though we had been weak. Howbeit, whereinsoever any is bold, I speak foolishly. I am bold also.
He says, look, I speak foolishly. I am bold also. He's giving you, and people, they put them on a pedestal, and he's trying to tell you, look, I'm just like you. Just like you. As brothers, we're just like you. Moses was just like you. Throughout the scriptures, Christ is our leader. He's the only one who is able to overcome these desires and these temptations. The rest of them had issues. Just part of this. What else? What did he say?
22. Are they Hebrews?
Are they Hebrews that suffer through those things? What did he say?
So am I.
So am I. Right? What else?
Are they Israelites?
Are they Israelites that suffer like this? What else?
So am I.
So am I. Right? Keep going.
Are they the seed of Abraham?
Are they the seed of Abraham who suffer with these trials, with these issues with the flesh? What did he say?
So am I.
So am I. What else?
Are they ministers of Christ?
Right.
I speak as a fool. I am more.
He's humbling himself. He knows. He knows sometimes his flesh is going to speak through. He knows. He's letting you know. The arrogance, he could have been, I'm not going to tell you I'm speaking as a fool. My word is bond. But he's saying, look, we're just brothers in this together. You know in the spirit, if what I'm saying is true, it's true. And if it's false, it's false. Keep going.
I am more in labors, more abundant, in stripes above measure.
In labors, again, he set up churches, so in labors, he had a lot more work than others. That's just about a sheer amount of work he had to do. But what did he say behind that? In stripes, that's whippings and beatings. In above measure, continuously getting assaulted. And a lot of that's internal. A lot of those fights come internal, but you'll read more. Yeah, he got more than the internal fighting. Keep going.
In prisons, more frequent.
In prison is more frequent. Just trying to do the work. Put in jail, I'm pretty sure, for 10 days at a time.
Right.
What else?
In deaths, oft.
Always in perils. Keep going.
24. Of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one.
Did he say Gentiles?
Jews.
He said of his own people. He was beaten 5 times, receiving 40 stripes, save for once of those times. His own folks they was trying to preach to. The ones turning him in. The ones that speak against him. His own folks.
It's so sad, but it's so true, because oftentimes it's our own people do us the worst. It's sad but true.
What else? 25?
25. Thrice was I beaten with rods.
Thrice was I beaten with rods. So if you see leaders throughout the churches and you see them up here teaching lessons, and I mean, just not them, but it's any brother who's standing for this, and you see them out here trying to stand strong, know that that brother went through hell just to make it there on Shabbat. Because everybody doesn't know what's going on in the background. How many people you think got the witness that was of the faith that would witness him getting beaten? Paul walking in the streets at night and say, that's that brother Paul. Let's get him. While he just trying to get a meal or whatever. That's how it is. Ain't nothing. I'm going off of this experience. We live in these streets. So we came from a lot of these things. This is nothing different. If somebody wants to get you, they ain't going to wait for you to be in a crowd. They'll wait for you to come out your house at 10 o'clock because you eat at 10 because you've been in service all day. Sun's down, he'll be out in about an hour. Make sure he never brings that word out ever again. He's messing with my money.
What they say, lie in wait, right?
Lie in wait. What the scripture says. Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was what?
Once was I stoned.
He lived through it. He was stoned but lived. Praise be the Most High.
He's probably stoned by who?
His own people.
And we was known to do what? Like kill you for stoning.
Yeah.
Like you was gonna die. You weren't about to get up and walk nowhere.
Look,
so yeah.
Look how crazy, just how often you try to do the work and a stumbling block will come. Look at this. Thrice was he beaten with rods. Once was I stoned, but what else?
Thrice I suffered shipwreck.
Who gets on a ship that many times? And for 3 times, I mean, after the first time, we're like, you know what? I'm not taking ships no more.
Right.
3 times. 3 times he suffered shipwreck.
Yo, who all got that grandma that will not get on no airplane? I
Lots
do.
of
I don't know about the rest of
yep.
y'all. I do. Okay, she's like, listen, if I can't drive there, I ain't going. Okay, like, yo.
Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Praise the Most High, he lived through that.
Right.
Because he's telling you about it. Right? Thrice I suffered shipwreck. And what else?
And night and day I have been in the deep.
If he's in the ocean,
man,
and you know the stories well of folks who get in shipwrecks even today, and they're sitting out in the middle of, the Caribbean or whatever, how soon you think sharks gonna get a feeling that you're in the water or any kind of animal? But he said a night and a day. He spent a whole day probably holding onto a piece of wood. Doesn't say if his body was hanging over or anything, but being out in the water is not safe. You got storms. Whatever you hold on to, you can sink.
The waves alone.
Something off the coast coming. You got 5-foot waves. Some people can't outswim that. Keep it continuing getting hit and going down and getting hit.
Yeah. That just goes to show you the protection of the Most High when you operate
the hedge.
And moving with the Most High, doing His will. Let His will be done.
Trials of the prophets was not a joke, and it continues to not be a joke. Thrice he suffered shipwrecks, a night and a day, and have he been in the deep. What else?
Got stoned, shipwrecked.
Yep.
Been in the water. 26?
Yep, 26.
In journeyings often.
So all these times, he was saying, I have beaten with rods, once stoned, thrice shipwrecked, a night and a day been in deep, was in journeyings to do the work. One when he was taking pleasure time. He was just trying to do the work. We didn't came out the house, flat tires, car won't work. I still make it here. That's not a story for everybody, but it happens. The deacons know.
Yeah, it happens.
There's been lots of things that keep us from coming here. Constantly. Job schedules. Right? Bunch of things. Which is multiplied throughout the entire church. With the same brothers doing the same thing. Even brothers who aren't in leadership. It's brothers that can't come to Shabbat because their job refused to give them off. We just had somebody coming. We just had somebody who was trying to come to Shabbat and he told me he worked in this person's HR. He said for a whole month, this sister's been trying to come to Shabbat. And I, as a representative of this company, have to come out to see if this church even exists.
Right. That's how they paying somebody.
Happened today.
They're paying somebody.
They paid somebody on a Saturday to come check out the church to make sure the service was real. And his response out of his mouth was that if one asks, they're all going to ask off. Right. They don't want you here. Right. Nobody wants you here.
That's the first for me. I ain't never seen no, you going to pay a man a salary for the day.
Nobody wants you hearing the word of the Father.
Dude, come on, man.
It's not me. It's not me giving this lesson. No, it's just the scriptures themselves. They speak for themselves.
Let it have been on a Sunday. It would have been all good.
No problem.
Bet you that.
And when I'm speaking to the person, they say, I have never seen them go through this lengths to prevent somebody from coming out to church according to the commandments. There we are. The trials of the prophets and the saints.
And it was a brother that came out to see too.
Same thing. Said the same thing. He was prevented from coming. He was told if he comes out again, we put you away for more than 10 days. Here we are. This ain't gonna say nobody's name. But this is as brothers and family. This is what you don't see. God. This is what we go through, and how tough it is to be up here and do this week after week when the enemy is just fighting tooth and nail for this thing to be broken up. So we tell you now, you taking these lessons for granted? That's fine. You think this lesson going to be around for 100 years? You think we're going to be here in 5-6 years? There's going to be some changes eventually. This don't nothing last forever. The God of this world had his way. He said there's not going to be anybody who's going to be able to worship the Most High openly anyway. So you can count this out. So we have to, in grace, take that grace that we have now to listen to a lesson, sit here and together fellowship before it's taken away. There'll be a famine in the land, but not just of food, but of the what? The word of God. What else? In journeyings often.
In perils.
In perils of waters, right?
In perils of robbers.
In perils of robbers. Like, you're just trying to do the work. You probably got a few scraps to try to feed yourself or get lodging for the night. Right. And that stuff being taken away. Imagine Paul having to sleep in the alley because his money gone. Naked, right? Oh, that's a pretty smooth. That's a pretty smooth outfit that probably a church gave you for coming. Right. I want it. So your brother's walking around with no clothes on, trying to do the work. Not saying that necessarily happened, but it's crazy. Robbers, I mean, how much can he have? Right. It's a man walking. Right. It's not like an airport when you got and both bring luggage everywhere. He got to bring what he can carry, which is basically nothing. So they're taking, he has one. They're taking that one and making it zero. Right. So in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, and what else?
In perils by mine own countrymen.
My own countrymen. He's probably saying, brother, why can't we just get along? We both Benjamites. Why are we doing this?
Shout out to the tribe of Benjamin. No.
Why are we doing this?
I can't help myself.
No, you're right. In perils of my own countrymen. He's the word. And how many old heads you see videos of old heads saying, brother, why can't we just stop shooting each other? Right. And they saying, shut up, shut up, old man. You don't know anything. Go back in that house. Hey, before you get shot. Right. No respect to the elders anymore, right? The children going to take over. That was all said. We all had it in here. What else?
In perils by the heathen.
In perils by the heathen, right?
In perils in the city.
In perils of in the city. What else?
In perils in the wilderness.
In perils in the wilderness. I mean, the brother's hanging out in the woods, probably in between cities. Right. That can't be safe. Nah. I mean, have you read some of the scriptures in Kings where they say there's lions in the land? There's all types of animals there. He's sitting up there, might have a brother or two with him, but, it's dangerous. Yeah. Imagine not having your comfy house and having to be out in the woods at night. when something can see at night and you can't. Think of that. What kind of faith does that take? And what else? In perils where?
In perils in the sea.
And in the worst of all, what's this one? In perils of what?
Ooh. In perils among false brethren.
Brethren who you thought were with you, and they were just here to destroy you. In perils among false brethren. Because he could have wrapped that up and said, all right, in perils of my own countrymen. Nah. But the countrymen, just because they're trying to Benjamin, don't mean they believed. Exactly. He's talking about brethren, folks he thought were his friends. Folks who thought had his best interests in mind, turned on them. And what else? What else did Paul say? This hits home because we might not necessarily be living in this right now, a lot of us. But a lot of us have went through this before, some of the things he's saying. And some of us will live in this at some point, if it all keeps going the way it is. What's 27 say?
In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst.
In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and in thirst. It probably months he wasn't eating. He couldn't. Maybe he didn't have it. Maybe the robbers got it. Who knows? And what else?
In fastings often.
In fastings often. Sometimes he's like, look, I can't eat. It's the only way I'm able to get through this. Look, you are a brother by yourself, not married per se, doing the works of the Most High, and you're walking among some of these cities that got ladies of the night walking around, I'm sure. Saying, Paul, come and rest your feet. And Paul was like, I gotta go, sister. I gotta do something.
Right.
He just, I'm being real. He just he not. You don't see him going with his wife or anything, right? You don't hear a wife in tow. It's just Paul and his brothers. Right. So imagine that thought process of him trying to do the work, and he still got fleshly issues. And he's got to be in somebody's place. He might be sleeping out in the wilderness on purpose. Like, look, I'm going to just be in the woods. I don't need to even be in this city because I'm going to mess up. You never know. But these are these trials that you just don't think about when we think about these brothers. What else?
In cold and nakedness.
In cold and nakedness.
Beside those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, and care of all the churches. Verse 29. Who is weak, and I am not weak?
Say, who is weak, and am I not weak? Right, keep going.
Who is offended, and I burn not?
Right.
If I must needs glory, I will glory of the things which concern mine infirmities.
If I needs the glory, I will glory of the things which concern my infirmities. He's looking within. He said, what do I need to work on? This is not me pointing at this brother and that sister saying they got that problem, and keep paying attention to all the things they're doing wrong. And not internalize and say, let me examine myself. What's wrong with me? What do I need to correct? What's making me feel like that? Why do I have anger and that shouldn't be there? Why do I have lust and it shouldn't be there? What am I doing wrong? How do I tighten up? 31.
And the God of the Father of our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach, which is blessed forevermore, knoweth that I lie not.
Knoweth that I lie not. Look at Paul. Look at what he went through. Just trying to do the work. That's it. Just trying to do the work and the stumbling blocks that come with this. You don't have to be a leader to fall into this situation at all. And a leader in the sense, you're a leader of your own house, men. And women, you're leaders over maybe the women in your house. But also, you are out here living the same as these brothers and sisters were living back then and having the same struggles. And it's telling you to hold fast. Look, if he can do it, living, thrice beaten, being, in the deep, being robbed, and still continuing on, so can we. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 9. These trials of the prophets and saints just showed me a lot and how I can continue on and be strong, even in my own weakness. It should be the same for you. Again, we all suffer the same things. So we're not up here to say we got the ship tight. By no means. No. We may be a bigger target than you are, if anything. So he basically, Paul said that to an extent, like, look, you see all the works I have? That's why I'm getting hit like this. It's not nothing I can do about it. It's part of it. I'm fighting for the Most High. Satan saying no dice. You affect too many people. I got to get rid of you. You affect too many people in the right way. I got to get rid of you. And every time he's thwarted like somebody on Scooby-Doo. Those darn kids. Talking about the Most High. Dang, again. Right. Save that man out. He was how you be in the ocean the whole day and not die? Yeah, seriously. That's wild. Okay. It's that protection. Protection. Yeah, protection. Again, we see these things in our life times when we were in situations that should have been us. Talking about, death and all types of things. Just happened to not be there because you remember, wow, 5 minutes before I was supposed to be there, something happened. Or 5 minutes after I left, something happened. But it just wasn't when I was there. Out of all the time it could have happened, he let me escape without a single thought of what was happening. I didn't know. Mm-hmm. He knew. 12-year-old Aaron, Mashah, 12-year-old Anand, 12-year-old Shalimar, 13-year-old, 14, 15-year-old, those things that we went through all those times, brothers and sisters out here, those things that you went through as children and teenagers, you're saying, wow, look where I ended up. Look what he was keeping me for. This time. 1 Corinthians 9.
Chapter 9, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
And unto the Jews I became as a Jew.
So Paul saying, and this is how we condescend to our brothers in these trials, these days that we have ahead, how we gather the flock, how we gather Christ's own. As a Jew, I became as a Jew. That what?
That I might gain the Jews.
So there's some brothers out here that completely on the Old Testament. That's all they want to talk about. That's fine. We'll talk to them in that lane. We'll go right down to them, right in the Old Testament, and try to help them, if that's what it takes. Keep going.
I'm trying to make this a quick interjection. So I was talking to one of the elders the other day, right? And this was an issue in one of the congregations, right? People using the scripture to justify the improper usage of trying to reach to others, right? So when the scripture says, and unto the Jews I became as a Jew. Quick question I want to ask the congregation, right? Who was Paul? Real simple question, but come on, give it to me. Who was Paul?
Pharisee of Pharisee.
He was a Pharisee of Pharisee, right? He understood the law back and forth, right? Yep. Give me something else on Paul. Benjamin, something else. Come, give me some more.
Chief priest.
He was what? Okay, that's another one. Give me some more. Give me some more on Paul. Not you, Paul. Come on, give me some more. He was apostle, Khan. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So this wasn't just any brother, brand new to the truth, operating in the truth, Khan, of the word, pushing the gospel. This was a seasoned brother. This was someone who overcame a lot through Christ, through the Most High, through the Holy Spirit. So, a sad misconception, even amongst our church, not this congregation particularly, but just the church as a whole, right? People, maybe some young brothers, young sisters, whatever, people are confusing this particular passage to do things, right, or operate in a manner in which could be deemed as a sinful way to reach others. Yep. So they're misconstruing, not rightly dividing the word of truth. Right. So instead of saying, and unto the Jews I became a Jew, well, Paul is talking about himself. He didn't say you should be like this to reach them. No, he's at that place where he could be like, okay, I'm going to come off in this demeanor so I could possibly help to win you over.
He did it from what? Experience.
Thank you.
Because he had what?
Thank
he taught to what the ability the Most High gave him.
Thank you. So just wanted a quick interjection.
Yep, that's exactly right. So if you're not proficient in the Jewish studies, don't try to become a Jew. That's not your lane. Find somebody who can do that.
Right. Not just that, but even in your demeanor in dealing with certain sort of people. If who here deals with the law in any sort of manner? I mean, actual American law. Nobody. Okay. Well,
lawyers.
I'm not. Okay, I'll use you, Shalimar. I'm not gonna walk up to another person who I know is a tax collector and try to fit in with him and try to push the gospel on him. I'm like a fool. That ain't I'm gonna stay in my lane. Okay. So that might be an element where you fit the bill, even though you operate in the truth. You like, listen, we speak the same language. Let's talk.
That's why we're a body.
That's it, exactly. Same with you.
Yep.
You know, in the financial world, I'm not gonna come and walk up to a financial risk analysis guru and try to kick capitalism with you like I know what I'm talking about. Brother, no, I'll stay in my lane. Okay. That's what it is. Yep. Well, go ahead.
Completely right. Nah, keep going on that I might gain.
Where we left off, I'm sorry.
Sorry, 9:20. You can finish that up. You can start off again.
So, verse 20, and unto the Jew I became as a Jew that I might gain the Jews, to them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. 21, to them that are without the law, as without law, not being without the law of the Most High, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law.
So you had a brother who, again, was what? Chief? Pharisee, but also was then humble in the learnings of Christ and learned how to be street smart. So he knew the book smarts, and now he can condescend to folks on the street level who maybe not know anything about the book, but they may know about Christ. They've heard about him. So he's able to live in two worlds, no different than us. We live and have our corporate lives, and some of us have our jobs, and we know that world. But then we can also come and talk to our people here. No different, even if you don't understand what we're talking about, to an extent. We can still talk to you on a different platform, because we're condescending like this brother did. He found a way to live between two worlds. He definitely used to be what? The most Jew guy of Jews, right?
Right. Jewed up, yeah.
Yep, Jewed up. But then also realize, look, I know how to condescend to those without the law too. Once Christ showed me hit the way that he wants us to present this. Or how, not his way, but the Most High. So, keep going.
Verse 22. To the weak became I as weak.
And that's why I read through 2 Corinthians 11, because you saw he had some issues that he could say, I know how to relate. I've been there. So when like one of us are talking to you and we like, you know what, I get it. We might not go into detail why we get it, but it's a reason. Wow, you're talking to me, or you're talking to Shalimar, or you're talking to Anna, or not one of us, because one of us have that experience already. It's the reason why us three are here, and not 4 or 5 or 7 or 1. Why us three? We all have a different avenue of experience, and we're bringing it to hopefully enrich the body. All right, keep going.
Middle of 22, that I might gain the weak, I am made all things to all men.
I am made all things. He realized he was molded to be something where he would be able to be a master teacher of many men from different avenues of life. Look, I know what the streets are like. I've been robbed many a times. That's what he said. I know what it's like to be in the deep, because I was in the deep 3 times, brother. I know what a shipwreck is. I know how to swim good too, right? But he's saying I can condescend to lots of brothers because all those things happen to me. I'm able to do so. I understand those trials. All right, keep going.
I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. 23. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And every man that striveth for mastery is temperate in all things. Now that they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible.
Right.
I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I as one that beateth the air. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection.
So through all these trials and tribulations, we keep these issues, these trials and tribulations to a level of subjection where we're able to still operate in the Most High, even with all the nonsense we go through. Yep. Verse 26.
I therefore so run, not as uncertainly.
So he runs the race not so uncertainly. He knows what's happening. He's running with faith. He understands what the finish line's about. Keep going.
So fight I, not as one that beateth the air.
That's somebody who's fighting nothing.
It's like shadow boxing.
Yeah, you shadow boxing. You
like
physically
really
out there punching, and you're not winning or losing. You're just spinning tires. That doesn't exist. It's wasting energy. Right. Waste of time. So he's not running with the certainty. As one as beat of the air. But he says, what in 27?
But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway.
So through weakness and strength, keep running this race that the forefathers have put in front of us. They showed us the ways. They showed us what they went through to continue on this fight. I know it's weak. I know we've been through a lot. I know we have as a people. I know in this room there's been a lot that's went on, seen and unseen, with our human eyes. But we gotta continue this fight and this walk. If we're not for our sakes, for the Most High's sake, because we love Him. So we're gonna run with purpose and run with surety, and cross that finish line, even if we have to crawl there. Shabbat Shalom, family.